All right, let's see what Kyle thinks of this.
Okay. Yeah.
I just bought Renee wanted one of these, and I was like, let me buy this on Blu-ray because why not? And then I remembered our conversation a while back, and I was like, well, I need that on Blu-ray as well. So
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Dracula Dead. You're good people, Dan. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite comedies of all time, dude. It's not
eating vine and drinking chicken.
No hyperbole.
So hang on. So let's just say that Dan, for some reason, you guys may be mutual friends. Kyle's going to Dan's house for a dinner party, right?
Yeah.
And then Kyle just, you don't really necessarily want to do all the small talk. So you meander over to the DVD rack.
That's your. Have you watched me while being public before?
So if you spot Gladiator, what's your just Gladiator first? You're like, okay, guys, own Gladiator.
Like everyone should have that.
Yeah.
That's pretty,
okay.
But I see Dracula Dead and loving it, and I go, this is a man of culture. This is a man who knows how to laugh and at what to laugh at. This is a man.
Now,
I just pictured you turn around and make eye contact across the room, and you just give him like a little cheers.
And I'll give him one of these. I'll give him,
You actually just kind of like smile and then walk out of the house. Like that's all I needed.
Start a conversation.
No. You leave. You leave the house. You leave the party.
I want to watch this movie. I'm gonna get out of here.
Credit where credit's due, though. Mainly my wife wanted it because I've seen the movie,
Who,
but
Dan?
I don't think I had seen it prior to meeting to date, like before I started dating her. My wife. My wife. But that's a funny movie. That is.
It's very funny. Yeah, it had some of the best like slapstick humor ever, and like I remember being a kid, and like one of the hardest times I've ever laughed in my entire life is when he like stakes that vampire, and like it's just like a fountain of blood for like 5 minutes.
Just keeps.
And then
going.
like he hands him. He's like, "Oh, you have some blood on you," and he hands him. I mean, the smallest little hanky that you could ever hand someone, and he just like dabs it a couple times.
Okay, so I've seen that part. I haven't seen the whole movie though, but I've seen clips of this.
It's good.
You know what? And it's now's a better time than ever because Nosferatu just came out.
Yeah.
Dracula Dead and Loving It is just Bram Stoker's Dracula spoofed, and Bram Stoker's Dracula is just Nosferatu or vice versa.
Yeah.
It is a timeless movie, so it's perfect, and everyone loves.
Yeah.
What's his face?
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
Thank you.
Yeah, Leslie Nielsen is one of those guys.
Funny dude.
He just played the serious, like overly serious straight man so well.
He was a drama actor until Airplane. Like he wasn't even a comedian.
Airplane
is
so good.
Someone approached him and was like, "Hey, do you want to be like in this?" And like he just was silly until he died. Like it's just. But he was always a prankster. Like on set, he would always like whoopee cushion people and like hand buzz people. before becoming a comedian, he just like that's just who he was. He just kind of was like a dry humor.
Yeah.
Like, you farted, and he's sitting on a whoopee cushion, it's just stupid.
That's
or he had a
great.
fart
That's
machine.
classic.
Like, he would always have a fart machine on him during interviews. And, like, in the middle of the interview, just, like, press the button and, like, you kind of look around, sometimes blame the reporter, It's just, I don't know, he's great. Good people.
Listen, I don't care how old you are. Like, if you're one of those, like, prudes, like, ooh, fart humor, I'm like, get the...
Yeah, you're not my people.
Yeah, get out of here. It's hilarious,
You're not my people.
Not my people.
Well, I'm trying to think of what movies I would see on someone's shelf and feel like I might have a connection with this person. I feel like, because I've done zero thinking about this ahead of time. It just came up as you guys were talking about it. So now you've got me thinking about it.
Sure.
I think there's a couple of basic bro ones that I still like to see. Your Gladiators, your Good Will Hunting. I like when someone enjoys Good Will Hunting.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe a little deeper cut, like instead of The Matrix, maybe they have Equilibrium. Then I'm like,
Oh,
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe both. Yeah. But like if they have Equilibrium,
yeah,
I'm
have
like,
Matrix for sure. But like having Equilibrium, like you're in. Like you were in.
That's
in
the Equilibrium, right?
Yeah.
You were in on that early 2000s, late 90s weird sci-fi that no one saw. I mean, that movie got him Batman.
Right.
Like we like come on. Like it's
one
movie history.
One kind of a little more of a deep cut, not super deep cut, but like one that I might kind of be like, hey, we might really connect here is if they had District B13, that French parkour fighting movie.
Oh, is that the parkour movie?
Yeah. I love that.
A deep cut, and I love that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that.
Because who has that? Like a French movie that's about parkour.
I
like,
owned it because of
remember
Blockbuster would sell their DVDs for like 4 for $20 or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's how I got a copy
my
of that.
DVD. Yeah, that's how I got my DVD collection.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Blockbuster guys. Let's moment of silence for Blockbuster.
Bad Boys 2.
Bad Boys
like
2.
Bad Boys 2.
I'm a big
good
Bad
one.
Boys 2 fan. I think it has some of the
Bad
best.
Boys 2 is great.
I think it legitimately has some of the best action sequences in any action movie. Like
it's like a fun.
I know
movie.
that's so silly to say, but like.
Okay, you got me thinking now.
No, it's just a fun
good.
If they have some Michael Bay films, that's fine. But if they have,
yeah, but I am gonna be judgy if you have too many and the wrong ones.
Right. Or if you have like a whole Michael Bay section, I'm like, But if
Like,
you
you have the rock,
It's
like you have the
labeled.
rock.
if you have the
I'm in.
rock, if you have
Yeah,
the
I'm in.
island,
That's good.
I'm like,
the island's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
yeah,
A word I do not say for Michael Bay very often. It is an amazing movie.
yeah. But if you have like,
But yeah, if you have all the Transformers,
I was
I'm
just gonna
probably
say all the
blocking- yeah,
Transformers. I was
I'm
like,
about to step on you.
Oh yeah, no, I don't
I'm
have.
blocking you.
I don't
We're
have
not, I'm
those.
leaving.
Dan
I'm
does.
Grabbing,
Dan
I'm
has 'em.
grabbing,
Dan has 'em.
Whoever I showed up with, I'm leaving. Yeah.
Yep, Dan's got him. Kyle's out of that party now.
Got 'em all. I'm sorry, Dan.
Actually,
I was like, how do you have Gladiator?
That
Yeah,
scenario.
Gladiator and Transformer. Who are you, Dan? You got to pick an identity here, Dan.
that scenario from the beginning, you now hold up Dracula Dead and Loving It, and then you hold up the Transformers 3 or whatever, and you're like,
And I don't even. I
shake your
just
head.
drop it on the ground, like disrespectfully.
you put the Dracula one in your coat and leave. Like you don't,
Yeah,
you don't can't have
deserve
this.
It's the montage of Kyle falling to his knees.
That's amazing. I think the same thing about games too. Like I was at a buddy's house, and I forget sometimes that not everyone is a nerd like me and has the newest consoles. So when someone's got like a PS4, I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what,
Yeah.
what is that?
Peasant. You
It's not
peasant.
retro enough. Like if someone has a Nintendo collection, like original Nintendo, you're like,
Yeah.
look at this guy's This guy's cool.
Maybe PS4 isn't too bad, but I saw a PS3 recently. That got me
PS3's
thinking.
nuts. Like
Yeah.
that's not retro. That's just
Yeah.
like it's just kind of like
Yeah.
you didn't keep up.
What are you doing? But the only games in the little stack there was like FIFA, Madden. I think there was one shooty game, Killzone. Maybe it was like a general shooting game.
Shocker.
But that was it. It was just kind of like a couple of those games. So I realized like we're not gonna. I don't even mention that I like games to those kind of people because
No, it's all right. Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But like, why would
No,
I?
It does. It does. Yeah.
You can make the argument, yeah, but you like video games. They have some video games. They're out on display. I'm like, yeah, but they're not though. Like, I'm not.
Yeah,
I would
right.
at least
also,
ask,
I'd hide 'em.
do you like
Yeah.
anything
I don't-
else? I would ask. I'd be like, oh, okay, you got like, okay, cool, sports, sure. I'd be like, do you like anything else? And most likely they're gonna be like, nah, bro.
Nah, I barely play.
Well,
What-
you play video games? I just go no.
Nah. Yeah. They'll be like, I barely have time. Maybe once or twice a month I'll play. I'll just play a couple of matches of FIFA. What about you? Don't play them at all. Hate them. Hate video
Yeah,
games.
hate 'em.
All of 'em.
Yeah, hate 'em. Yeah, FIFA sounds cool. Sounds like you have a good time, nerd.
FIFA? What's
On
FIFA?
'em. Yeah, you turn it around on 'em.
Touch grass, buddy. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right. Dude.
There we go. Shaming people for
job,
video
loser.
games.
Shaming and gatekeeping people.
As we are about to dive into a hour-plus conversation about gaming, and how many of the newest
Yeah.
games we've played or the old games we were playing, and we have a problem. We have a major problem. That's okay, but
It's
it's
a good
fun.
problem.
It is a good problem. All right, guys. For this episode, we've got a couple of new games I know that we've been looking forward to, so I'm excited to get your thoughts on things like Split Fiction, or if either one of you have had a chance to play Suikoden. I know I have, so I'll be sharing about that a little bit. I've got some thoughts as a major fanboy of that series. A couple of the new games, too, that I'll show you on our little sizzle reel here that I think are worth a little shout out that are new this week. And then some headlines as well. I got to tell you, I was planning on doing a little retrospective on 2024 and talking about some Game of the Year stats and stuff that I had started to dig into. Today was crazy, and I had no time to finish what I wanted to. So I'm going to do that in a future week. We'll look back at 2024.
Yeah. Also, we made a rule. We don't talk about 2024 anymore. So
You're right. What am I thinking?
we gotta throw it out,
Guys,
man.
I'm
We
sorry.
gotta lead-
Just that year.
The
That's on me.
retrospective
Just-
is that the year is old, and throw out your games, everybody.
I will give you a little reason why I did it, though. I was looking at this site that tracks all the Game of the Year winners, and any of you can
No,
go look at this
I would
now.
actually like to see that data.
And when
That'd be
you
fun.
see, some years have a winner that gets like well over half of all the Game of the Year awards that are given out, which means it is kind of significantly the
it's that
dominant,
year's Elden Ring.
right?
Right.
Which that was, of course, the one from 2022. And then there's other years where it's down into the 20s and 30s, and there's maybe a handful that are all kind of sharing a big piece of the pie together, and it really spreads out. Like 2021 was a year like that. And so we'll talk about what 2024 was in those terms as well, because I think we saw a lot of different Game of the Year winners, both from us and how we were ranking things, but also from the industry. So it's interesting to look at some of that. I just didn't have time to write down all the stuff I wanted to. Today got a little crazy, and then I was telling Kyle before we recorded, I laid down just for a second. My son was playing Minecraft Dungeons. He's my 6-year-old, and he wanted me to watch him play. I was like, no problem, buddy. I'll lay on the couch and watch you play. I was out like a light. Like I fell asleep.
Ultimate dad move.
I fell asleep
let's start that thing with
immediately.
the kids.
And then I woke up to him going, Dad, did you see that? And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Drop some.
The cycle is complete.
Yeah, I think at one point I woke up and saw him playing Rocket League. I was like, don't play online. Don't talk to strangers. You know? Yeah. It was something.
Say no to drugs.
Something like that. So anyway, we'll get back to that. Look back at 2024 later. But there's plenty of games for us to talk about. So no big deal. But first, let's dive into what I think is not only one of the more surprising releases in terms of like its reviews, and I'll explain what I mean by surprising here in a second. But also, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's having a blast with it. I know I'm playing it with my son, and that is, if I can get it to come up, here we go. Split Fiction is out from Hazelight. We'll have the IGN review here on mute, but we'll be watching it, some of the clips here together, because it gives you a nice kind of summary of some of the gameplay. The reason I was saying I'm a little surprised at how good it is because I feel like when you have a AA level studio, at least that's how I think of them, as a really good AA level studio. They don't have the finances I wouldn't think of a EA or a Ubisoft or something, but maybe. I guess they are technically by EA, aren't they? So I don't know.
They've probably just also been growing the last couple of games, especially.
So I just keep thinking of them as like a smaller scale studio, and I'm like, well, their last game, It Takes Two, was beloved. It won Game of the Year. I know, right. I loved it. They can't do this twice. It's going to be a little bit of a dip, and then like that's just what I thought. I don't know why.
I was really hyped for this game and everything like that, but I kind of agree. I was just like, oh, this is like a Split Second again. Or a Split Second. It Takes Two again.
It Takes Two again, a little bit. No Way Out again.
Yeah, it just like it's that again, and I'm like, so like, no way will reviews, which is fine. I love both of those games you just mentioned. I think they're fantastic.
Me too.
But like, I felt like it was right for reviews to just be like, we've done this before,
right?
And that's not what they're saying. So
yeah, it seems to be universally loved, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm playing it. I think I've got about 4 or 5 hours into it with my son, my oldest son, Kale. He's about to turn 18. I'm about to have a son who's an adult, by the way, which is pretty crazy.
Well, yeah.
But he mostly plays. I know. I've grown a human. But he plays mostly online. He loves Marvel Rivals. He'll play Fortnite from time to time. He actually just dove back into Overwatch a little bit with some buddies. So he loves to play mostly online games with his buddies and chat while they play.
Yeah.
He'll play the occasional single player game. But not a ton. And then he'll play some co-op with me. He played It Takes Two with me, and I was like, dude, It Takes Two people made a new game. Let's play it. And I could tell he was maybe planning on doing a little Marvel rivaling with his friends. Like, oh, okay, all right. But we were having so much fun with it. He keeps even saying like, this game looks amazing and it's so fun. And they keep throwing in, I'll call this the game without a real genre type of a game. Like it keeps, I don't know why they're showing a Matrix clip in this review. I guess I should have listened to it ahead of time.
What is going on there? Yeah,
Ready Player One.
Okay.
Okay. They're talking about how you get kind of jacked into the system, which is kind of the premise of this game.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, he's having a blast. I'm having a blast.
I was like, this game just got way cooler. It's a Matrix game, yeah.
So, I mean, technically it is. The premise is that you're two young authors, Zoe and Mio, which, by the way, I think are really interesting, thought-out characters that I'm intrigued to find out what happens with them, both individually as well as friends. I'm just curious what happens. I found them to be very well-written, well-acted, and likable, even though they both have their elements of not liking each other. I still find them both to be pretty endearing in a lot of ways. So the idea is that they show up. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like from the trailers, it's that kind of typical of like, they're two very different people, not seeing eye to eye,
and bring it to the foundation of like, well, you like sci-fi and I like fiction, it's a really good foundation to build off, how these characters are different, but I'm sure how they'll come together in some way by the end. So.
Yeah, and it is working. They're introducing each other to the genres. The one of them, Zoe, she's got the longer hair that's pulled up, and she's got a British accent. She's much more optimistic. She loves fantasy settings. She's the one doing stuff like this with a giant where you're swinging from his nose or fighting trolls.
I love that the fantasy person's more optimistic.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that genre is inherently more optimistic. Where sci-fi, especially with the subgenres like cyberpunk, is usually more dystopian. And
very violent. Some of the endings.
I love that touch. That's amazing.
I think it's great. And so the more positive girl is everything represents something. She's like, well, why did you write this story? And she's like, I just wrote it because it's violent and has explosions. Well, what else do you need? So I love their back and forth. Of course, as you go throughout, you discover they both have deeper meanings behind why they wrote certain stories and villains in their stories, of course. And it's really cool the way they do that. But Zoe's much more open about it, sharing about, oh, my sister and I grew up doing this. It made me think of that. So I wrote the story about a tree because we used to have a tree. And the Mio girl's like, I just like violence. So I wrote it. You know, it's like it's awesome. It's a nice touch between the two characters, and what is also cool is that they each get such different abilities throughout each level. So you'll be in a level and have, for example, my son and I just finished one level where you can transform. And one of you can transform into either a little tiny pixie fairy that's cute and can get into tight spaces and can kind of glide across things. But also, the other transformation is to a giant Groot-like tree that can use its huge roots to like manipulate the forest and stuff around. The other one can turn into either this little fish-like sea otter and swim really fast and go deep underwater and stuff. And the other transformation is a gigantic gorilla that can just smash everything. So there's at first it's like it feels so random, but then as you go through, the tree guy has to move something for the gorilla to jump on so he can like swing underneath, and then you have to transform into the little otter so you can swim underwater and unlock something for the little pixie to fly through the side. Like it's just done so smoothly and it just makes sense. Like we haven't gotten stuck on anything for more than maybe a couple minutes at the most of like, okay, who has to do what first here? And you figure it out, and then every time we've been like, oh, that was cool. You know,
like that's the magic of It Takes Two as well. Where
Yeah.
I'm not a puzzle guy at all, but like I felt like everything was just in reach to be like, well, okay, wait, what do we need to do here? And then you solve it, and then you kind of feel smart, even though the game kind of knows a good way to present the problem to you to solve. You know, I don't know. The game does a really good way of making it kind of not too tough, but
That's
also
right.
that make you feel smart whenever you solve something.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's carried over to this. That's awesome.
It absolutely has. Yeah, the respawns are very forgiving, even in boss fights. Here, I'll rewind it just a sec so you can see that. So you're fighting this big tank, and when one of you blows up, you have to quick tap either triangle or Y to. Oh, it kind of went away quickly there, but you quickly tap it to try to respawn, and the other person has to stay alive until you respawn. Right there. See this? You tap it till this goes all around the hexagon right here. And then you respawn. So the other person just has to survive. And if you both die, you reset to a checkpoint within the boss fight or something like that.
Just gives you a little window.
Nice little window. It's pretty forgiving. Like there was a couple of moments. There's a couple of levels that were pretty tough that took us several tries. But overall, the main story stuff is all very doable. You kind of breeze through it, but there's a lot to it. I still don't know how much we have left. Probably we're about halfway, I think. I don't know for sure. But yeah, and as you can see here, even in this like sci-fi setting, everything is really detailed. And then of course here in the fantasy setting, again, everything's very detailed and inviting, and they just do it. And here, there's the tree throwing the gorilla up there to swing. That's exactly what I was talking about. So
is the performance real solid? Because with split screen games, it can be sometimes tricky. But
it is. I actually mentioned that to my son. We were playing it this morning, and I was like, dude, we both have complete 3D movement of control and camera control in our own separate windows, and it's running super smooth. Which I was really impressed by. And Lethal Weapon 2. That's funny that they're comparing that. That is really funny. Gosh,
classic.
I do love a young Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. Those guys are the best.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. But I get the comparison where you've got two kind of like mismatched odd couple, and it just works. It's a classic formula that works for a reason. It's because it's entertaining and if written well and in a fun way, so fun to experience together. That happens a lot too. But anyway, one thing I was going to say was you have almost every genre. A lot of this kind of 3D platforming, which controls really great. That level you just saw before too also has a lot of 3D, just kind of action shooting because you both have guns and you upgrade the guns as you go. And then there's a side-scrolling segments where sometimes you have to run and dodge and fight side-scrolling. There's a couple of segments where you go into a completely different genre, like shoot 'em up, like a space shoot 'em up. You're in a spaceship and it's side-scrolling, and you're actually going up and down and shooting just to the right, like old school arcade shoot 'em up style. So it has all these different genres that it kind of leans into. I don't know if you saw earlier, there was like an isometric action type game. There's racing, the skiing type of a thing. There's all kinds of crazy genres that they include as well. There's rhythm. There's a whole section where a big boss fight is essentially a dance-off, which is a lot of fun.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So there's some stealth moments, as you can see here. You got to help the other one.
Making these games must be fun as hell. These last couple, especially with how varied the gameplay mechanics are, like just like all these different like
everyone
elements
gets
and
to
different.
probably get to throw their hat in the creative table like section.
What is? We need to talk about this one for. We need to talk about this for a quick second. Hang on. You got it. Okay.
Huh?
So this is real. This is there are these side stories that you discover, which are exactly what they sound like.
Mhm.
They're little like optional missions that are essentially the way the game describes them. It's side stories that they have ideas for but never finished. But because they're in this Matrix-like device, it's pulling those ideas out and generating an experience for them in this VR thing that they're experiencing. And so all these little side stories are wacky and they're usually short, sometimes really challenging. There's one that's a whole train heist that the sci-fi girl came up with where you have to glide in on these paragliders to get to this to finally land on the train and then like jump your way to the front and stop it. There's ones like this where before you get here, all I'll say is that you are both two pigs exploring a bunch of farm levels.
Oh no.
Sure.
and then
Okay.
and then things happen and
Sure.
you literally like the whole point of
That's
this
sad.
final section of the stage is that you have to turn on this fryer right here. You hop on, you have to grill yourself evenly, roll around so you get grilled evenly, and then you go get ketchup and mustard on and hop into a bun, and then that's the end of
Game
the
of the
level.
year, dude. Game of the year.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Like
Hot dog mechanics.
we found ourselves dying laughing a couple different times with different things that you control and how it. Again, the hot dog was a highlight for sure. But there's so many good. It's what reminds me. It reminds me of the old school co-op moments where you're just sitting there having a good belly laugh with a friend that you're gaming with.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of games miss that too much. Everything's super competitive or all about what upgrades
Yeah.
you get or how
God,
realistic
I
does it
agree.
look. And this is just, to me, this is just pure fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're having an absolute blast with it. And I do love that they actually injected interesting characters into what could have been almost like the UFO 50, where it's a whole bunch of little mini games they made. They instead put it around really. There's the pigs. They put it around these two very compelling characters that have unique motivations, unique personalities, and over time they do start to grow on each other, but they're also bickering a lot of the time, which makes for some really fun. Think Uncharted like bickering while you're running, jumping, escaping. It's got some,
That's amazing.
and It Takes Two, right? Had some of the same things between the husband and
Oh, yeah.
wife. You know, a lot of those moments were there too. So
Yeah, that
haven't
game
done the
ended up
dragons
having
yet.
a really wild like story. It Takes Two, whereas like I
Yeah.
felt like it's a really good way to Trojan horse like an actual like meaningful story where you're like, wait a minute.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm sure it's even better in this. You know, I feel like Ferris, I forget his first name, the guy who makes these games. I think that
I think
he
it's
just
Joseph,
keeps
right?
on, yeah, Joseph, yeah, that's right. He keeps on learning more and more and more about how to do like this type of video game, especially starting with A Way Out, you know, and just taking a lot of those tenets and just kind of getting wackier and wackier with it.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks so fun. I'm bummed I didn't get to play it. I'm still coordinating with Jeff to find time to play it.
Okay.
You got to have a buddy. I'm not playing with some weirdo.
Yeah, you gotta have a friend because like you also don't want to play with someone who's just trying to get through the game because there's so many
Yeah,
cool
I want to stop and
cutscenes
smell
and
the roses.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think IGN gave it a 8, was it? I think, but overall the game is averaging at like a 90. But they give it a 9. Okay, I know
Pretty
GameSpot
solid.
gave it a 10, which they don't give out very often.
Yeah,
Wow.
GameSpot doesn't like anything. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just continually blown away by it. I think it looks amazing. Oh, there's the Matrix thing again.
Cool Matrix.
Yeah. But I continue to be blown away by it, and I highly recommend it to anyone who has either anybody who they want to game with. They don't have to be anywhere near you. They could be far away and on a totally different platform. I don't know exactly how this works because I'm playing it couch co-op. But apparently, if you own a copy on any platform, you can invite anyone who's on a different platform to join you. And as long as you're playing with them, you can both play together. So you only need one copy. It's a $50 game. So you only need one copy, and then you can both play. But I haven't tried that. I have heard it's pretty easy. I just
It
don't.
is. I did it with It Takes Two. You just the person who owns the copy starts the game and invites the other person in. Both people just download the game.
And it
I
can be from
believe
either
you.
platform, any platform,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there is some way that part I'm actually kind of forget. There is some way to download the game without buying it. Obviously, I think you get invited to it or something like that.
I don't know if it's like an email invite where it's a
I
specialized
forget now
link.
too, and that's probably the most important part. So
Like a
yeah,
code?
I
Is it
forget
a
now as
code
well.
that you
Be
give them
It
or
might be a
something?
be a
code.
code.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It could even just pop up like on PlayStation as like download me. You're being invited to
Yeah, could
do
be.
Yeah.
this. But I actually forget that part of it. But yeah, it was very easy, and I remember it just being like, "This is everything should be like this," you
Yeah.
know, like.
Yeah. So I love that. I think it's a really cool way to to kind of get back into gaming with a friend again, which is we're not making you buy multiple copies. I remember like old school Nintendo with Game Boy Advance, you'd have to each have a Game Boy Advance, a copy of the game, and like the special plug and all that kind of stuff just to play
the link
multiplayer.
cable
So, the link cable. Yeah.
Menus upon menus of trying to get everybody in somewhere.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah,
that's cool. I have a really antagonistic friend, a gaming friend that we play with. And we just talk shit to each other all the time, and I'm like, I might have a second game on the side. Jeff and I are just like buddy. We're not too antagonistic towards each other. Me and my other buddy. Playing this game is going to be so much fun, with somebody who's like kind of out trying to sabotage you and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
there is a whole section in the sci-fi where one of you has a sword, the other one has a whip, and my son had the whip, and he realized quickly that there is some friendly fire in certain sections of the game, and then that's one of them.
Here we go.
Dude, he was hitting me with that whip so many times. I was like, because the sword reach was so short, I couldn't really get to him to hit him very often. But he could stand across every level and just like, I was like, dude.
You're like,
Indiana Jones.
It's the thing that every parent wants to say to their kid: stop whipping me.
Right.
Again. For the last time, stop whipping me.
Send you to your room.
These motorcycle sequences are awesome too. There's a whole chase sequence before this boss fight that is so epic. You're switching gravity. You're jumping on and off bikes. You're taking over bikes of enemies. You're going through buildings. Like, it gets wild, and it's every fun sci-fi action thing that you want to experience. This girl's clearly got that mind. On the fantasy side, it's very creature centric, and the creatures have funny personalities, like the dancing monkey you probably saw at one point during this thing. So like lots of creative characters in hers, whereas this one's much more about direct, straightforward evil villain who's sending her minions after you, and you just have to travel through the city and destroy for the most part. And so which makes sense. That's kind of how some of these stories can be. But anyway, dude, I am loving it. I think both of you would have a blast with this game whenever you get a chance to play it, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it takes we hadn't finished it, so I almost want to like maybe even start over because like we played it like I don't even know how long ago when we started it and didn't finish it, but yeah, it was very cool, and the puzzles are very creative. Like they do a good job with the puzzles, and they're very unique and interesting. So
this freaking level, it's another side story. It's totally optional, but it's like this futuristic game show where this evil AI robot that's floating right here wants to kill you. But the idea is that it's like hot potato, and you have to make it across these platforms to the end of each little scenario she sets up, which gets progressively more difficult with fire and electricity and moving platforms. But you have to throw it with R2, and you have to hit R2 at the right time to catch it. So you have to communicate with each other. All right, I'm throwing it right now, and you throw it, and they have to catch it. So you have to like work. It's actually kind of hard. Yeah. So that's when we died on the most, I think. We kept missing it or not properly saying, all right, throwing it now. Because if you didn't throw it, it would start to beep really fast and you're about to blow up. So you had to just launch it. And very stressful, but super fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, super, super fun. Absolutely love it. So, but neither of you have gotten a chance to play it yet, right?
No, sadly not.
Okay. No. By the way, when I finish with my son...
The most important thing I want to play right now, though. Seriously. I know I'm going to love this game.
You're going to adore it. It's going to be one of those ones that's impossible to ignore when it comes to Game of the Year time. It's just too fun. It's got too much personality, and it's gorgeous. The designs are amazing. And I know both of you enjoy your levels, certain elements of sci-fi and fantasy, and so you're going to love the design of it too.
Yeah, I'm definitely a why not both type. So
why not both?
I'm very excited to see this weird blend.
Yeah, they do a really great job with it. So, and by the way, since I own a copy on PS5, if you get to a point where you're like, well, I want to play it, but I don't have anyone to play with, I don't want to spend the money, whatever, I could always I'll do another play. Like, I'm already wanting to play it again. It's so fun.
Okay, heck yeah.
So I'm down with doing that. If Dan, if your wife, or Kyle, your wife, Jeff, they let you down, then
my wife.
My wife.
I called Jeff a girl. All right. Also out this week, and we'll use the Nintendo Life review from YouTube, is Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Hang on, let me get the whole title, guys. Hang on one second. Here we go. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate, Rune, and Dunin Unification Wars.
There you go. Yeah, it is right off the tongue.
Is now available.
Real snappy.
It's now available on all platforms. I've heard, by the way, that it looks and runs amazingly on the Switch. which is you're seeing
good.
our review
That's
here.
good because so they're like Ayuden Chronicles doesn't,
That's what I've heard too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I went ahead and got it on PC because I wanted it on my
That's where I'm
Steam
gonna
Deck
get it.
and I wanted to just look. I want to play on this screen too. So that's where I got it. But it's great to hear that it works on the Switch, which makes sense that it would work well. A PS1 collection that they've given some.
Right.
I don't know. A PS2 game called Kingdom Hearts can't run.
Oh my god!
Cloud.
It needs to be cloud-based.
I don't know, Tim. I don't know about all that. They got
But The Witcher 3 can,
They got
so-
The Witcher 3 to run on there,
Yes.
but Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 is just
Which is,
beyond
can we
that.
still agree that The Witcher 3 running on there is still witchcraft? I don't know.
I still don't understand it. It doesn't look
Yeah,
great, but
it's-
like
but it
it's
works.
competent. Yeah, it's a very competent.
And I
video game.
remember a couple years back
just
testing because I
works.
have like a special edition of it on Switch because I got so excited when they announced it. I was like, I don't care if it doesn't run well, I want this. So,
Yeah.
but the save transfer with if you have a CDPR account works great.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
I played it on PC and then I uploaded it to the cloud, got it on the Switch, downloaded it from the cloud, and it just
It
worked.
just
It
works. Yeah.
Just
Sorry, we're talking about Suikoden here, people. All right, so Suikoden 1 and 2 are both out. By the way, they both have still some of the most incredible epic openings that, back in the day, these anime RPGs would just have these kind of openings. We'd have a lot of hand-drawn characters, a lot of zooming, and the music was always really epic and cool looking. So I didn't really have a whole soundtrack. You can just go and listen to the music. That's cool.
cool. Yeah, I like little things like that.
But yeah, the opening was great in both of these games. It kind of just gets you all hyped up and you see like a little glimpse of all the main characters as they flash by. Okay, so this one right here, this is the really the first area that you're exploring in the first game. So you are this character right here with the weird green and purple bandana. This is your kind of like childhood guardian. Gremio has been watching you since you were a little kid. And then you've got two other kind of helper / guardians. Pan right here, he's a punchy dude. Cleo, who throws stuff. And then you got this mysterious guy named Ted who keeps hinting at how he's much older than everyone thinks. Like he's really friendly, but then all of a sudden he's like, "Don't talk to me like that. I'm 300 yet." And then he gets cut off. And then like, so
Okay.
he's got an
That's
interesting
fun.
past and background that you'll discover if you play the game. But the game starts out where you name your character, but your character is the son of this super respected and powerful general for the emperor. Pretty classic trope for these kind of games. You've got an empire with an emperor, and
Always.
your dad is a general, and he is sent off to take care of like the border on the north, Canada. And so he
Right.
You guys
Right.
get it. You guys get it.
Just like today.
Just like today. It's actually a picture of today's politics. No, it's not. But of course things unfold and you find yourself questioning whether or not this empire that you of course are serving alongside with your dad, like are they in the right? Are they in the wrong? It becomes very morally gray very quickly.
Oh man.
And things start to unfold and it gets really intriguing really fast. I think even at the beginning, the stuff happens with Ted right away. That's like, oh, there's more powers in this world than we realized. And by the way, Dan, I know you played 3. There's probably going to be a few characters really right away, but as the game progresses, that you're going to be like, I think I remember that name. There are certain, especially
I've
magical
heard.
characters that carry over.
Yeah. I heard that there was, because again, that was like I remembered like dabbling, because I had it on the PSP. Like that was like the first time I even actually played Suikoden 2, but I barely played it because whatever, I was gonna get to it and then I just didn't. Shame on me. But the third one is actually the one back in the day on the PS2.
Right.
Like
It's the
that
one
was
that
my
I
first
played, yeah.
exposure to the series. So and I thought it was really rad. I really enjoyed it. So
If that game ever got a remaster, because it does have some technical issues. Even back in the day, I remember being like, oh, that was a little. It wasn't the most polished experience, which was still fine. A lot of games back then weren't. That's one that I think if it got the right TLC, it could be an amazing remaster.
well, it was the first time on the PS2 as well, because obviously 1 and 2 were PS1,
That's
and
right.
then
That's right.
the shift to PS2 that it went 3D.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
also, like, can I just point out the perspective of like the combat is like really interesting. I've not seen an RPG with this perspective, like the camera perspective of a kind of like being like at an angle,
yeah.
which is really really interesting. So like the sprite work, like they have to like kind of make the proportions look not weird, right?
Yep.
Because of just the angle that it's at. So
Yeah, true.
Well, not only that, but here's one of the things about the remasters that I don't think is a negative, but it's not a positive either. It's just something that I've noted is the environments. Like, look how lush and detailed this all
I was
looks.
gonna ask.
It doesn't
Yeah.
look that detailed, of course, in the original. Everything's pixelated in the original, so it all kind of works together as one singular style. These styles do clash a lot, and you can even see it just in this freeze frame here of really, really well designed pixel characters. I still think they look great.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
there's an element of them seemingly having gotten no touching up, or at least very minimal touch. Like, they look, if you go back and look at screenshots, they look exactly the same as they did on the old games. But the
Yeah, 'cause
environments
some of
and
the backgrounds.
everything looks different around them.
They're perfect. We don't need to do anything. You know, I'm like, all
I was
right.
gonna say some of the backgrounds of these, 'cause more recently the stuff I've been seeing, I'm like, it looks like it's like the character sprites are pixelated, but then the backgrounds are like really kind of like mundane, hand drawn.
Yes,
Like
there's
they
a
just kind of have this
flatness.
hand
There's a
drawn.
flatness to them.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
and
it's
it
not a
conflicts.
2D, 3D
Yeah,
thing, which I think all of us have
yeah,
grown to love that style. I think
yeah.
one of the things I liked about Aiden Chronicles, I actually thought their visual style worked really well because the
Yes,
characters and the backgrounds had a nice meshing back and forth, the way they would go out of focus
yeah,
sometimes. It wasn't to the degree of an
yeah,
Octopath, but there were elements of it that I was like, man, this looks really good. This game is
yeah.
kind of missing that eye-catching pizzazz, and I think it almost feels like they just assigned someone make all the backgrounds, everything look great, but don't touch the characters. That's what it feels like as
Mm,
I'm playing it. Which
yeah.
which again, it's not really a negative, but it's also not a positive. I feel like it's a missed opportunity to really give this thing a fresh coat of
You're
paint.
already in there tinkering. You know, like
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
clean up everything else. I don't
Why
know.
didn't they just pixelate the back? I know that would take more time, but like the backgrounds, I think they should have preserved as well. Like make them sharper, pixelated backgrounds. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's something
yeah.
about the visuals that I mean, I still think the character portraits, they've all been upgraded. They look
Hmm.
really nice. But so that's one thing that to me is kind of neutral, maybe leaning towards a negative. And I'm being totally honest because I love this series. I've talked a million times about how much I love Suikoden 2, and I also really do enjoy 1. I probably finished that one 2 or 3 times. It's just 2 that I played through many, many times and love, love,
Yeah,
love.
two's like the one.
2 is the one, but the first game is really good. It's got as I'm replaying 1 now, I've gotten a few hours in on the first game, and I'm reminded of already how much I just love this whole world, this lore they've built. I really do like it a lot. But some of the clunkiness of the original game, I'll skip ahead here a little bit, is still there. Not in the combat. I think the combat's great. You can do auto battle. That's where Aiden Chronicle got its whole idea, of course, for auto battling.
Mm.
You just hit auto and you'll go. And then you can stop it at any point. You can also speed it up if it's easy enemies, you just want it to go fast. You can see down. Well, you can't see it because I paused it.
Dude, look at that.
Okay, that's an awkward pause. Okay, the
Yeah.
in the bottom right here behind the YouTube controls, it says battle speed. So if you hold in,
Mm.
depending on your controller, like X on an Xbox or Square on a PlayStation controller, it'll go into fast forward mode, which is great. So that's a nice quality of life thing that they added
Yeah.
in. But I will say that and leveling up feels great. By the way, like you can run around and grind and build up your levels. But the inventory system. Now we're looking at 2 right here. So this is from 2. This is the main character, brother and sister, and best friend. These are kind of the 3 main characters of the game. But the inventory system in 2 is really great. Maybe not perfect, but really great. In 1, it's such a headache moving things around from character to character. They all have their own inventory, which is cool. But
Uh,
also, anytime you take them out of your party, all their items are with them, so you have to put them back in your party,
Dragon
get the
Quest
items
is
out.
like that, and it's kind of a peeve for me too, where I'm like, this is just a lot, you know?
Yeah. So that was to me another great chance to streamline and optimize the game. Like make
right.
it the undeniably best way to play this thing.
Yeah, and I feel like little like things like that, little changes that don't change the gameplay at all. It just kind of streamlines something, or kind of
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of makes it so it's just a little more of the times. That's good. You add
Yeah.
a lot of life to a game, you know, when you do something like that.
Absolutely. So that's one thing I wish they would have done. Again, it's not taking away any of the magic for me. It actually feels like, because I also own them on PSP, Dan. That's actually the one place I still owned these 2 was
Mm.
what they call it, like
The PS1 Classic.
PS1 Classic
digital
collection.
PS1
Yeah, so
Classics,
I
yeah.
had them on there. Which, by the way, when those released, the price, what you could get for the CD copy of Suikoden 2 just plummeted. Because you used to have to spend
Oh, did it?
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds to get Suikoden 2.
I feel like they're still pricey.
It was like some of the first conversations. People were like, "Digital's gonna ruin like collections," like but it ended up kind of bouncing back.
I'm sure they're still expensive, but I can't imagine they were up. It's to where they were before. Like I think even like Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii, stuff like that was really pricey for a long time there.
Oh yeah. It's very
But
pricey. Limited run on those.
but anyway, all that to say, there's some quality of life things I think they could have done that they didn't. It's not like they didn't do anything though. Certain elements of it, like it's still the game already. I thought was pretty user friendly. Like you can run pretty quickly. The screens as you're running through town or between houses, it loads relatively quickly. You're not going to be waiting for all these loading screens. So all that's fine. That you can kind of fast forward through all the dialogue if you read faster. That kind of like so. All of it's pretty user friendly. It's just the inventory management in the first game is a bit of a headache. But once you get your main party set, it's not a big deal. Like once you kind of know the group that you're going to go with, maybe you'll swap out one character and have to do one kind of like one for one item carryover, maybe. But it just doesn't do a good job of like, here's a new item. Can I just see who needs this? It's kind of clunky to get to that view. You have to give it to them and then you can see if it'll help them or not. So
I wonder if that was laziness or they like almost wanted to like just be like, yeah, this is pure, man. This is exactly what you got back.
There is a group of people out there who want the pure experience. They don't want to change. They want it exactly how it was, and yada yada. And I guess at the end of the day, it becomes about what was the developer's intent. Was it just game preservation, or was it like bringing it to a new fan group? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And maybe this was just about preservation. Maybe this was just for the fans who bought it originally, and yada yada. I think that's okay, but I am also very much of the mind where it's just like you're already in there tinkering, let's let's add a little more, why not?
I will say this: the first game is not that it doesn't have challenging spikes, it does, but it for the most part is a pretty easy RPG. It's not incredibly like there are some the old school RPGs that you'll play that are so tough that are and this one to me is. I'm not saying you can just hit go, but you can set a difficulty too easy, by the way, or normal or hard. So you can make it even easier for yourself where enemies don't hit as hard and they die quicker and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's particularly a tougher game. The second one's a little tougher and it's also just a little more involved. But again, neither one of them I would consider hardcore, difficult RPGs. By the way, this dog right here, Shiro, it's awesome. It's one of my favorites in the whole game.
I love when RPGs have like, give me an animal character.
I do too. I love an animal companion.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah,
yeah. The Shiro's the best. But yeah. I think in the first one, you really unless you're following like if you're gonna look up some old Game Facts guide, which is awesome to do, and get all the characters, all 108 characters, it's gonna take you some time for sure. But you could do most of the main content and a good amount of some of the side stuff, which there isn't an abundance of in the first game. It's there, but it's not as abundant. You could probably get it done in 20, 25 hours. And that's pretty good. Maybe if you follow a guide to get every single character, maybe it would take you more, especially if if you're really taking your time and whatever. There's some dialogue choices to make that will determine if some characters are recruited or not. So some of that is unforgiving. So
right. It's just a guessing game.
It's a bit of a guessing. You're like, I don't know. What's the response here? Yeah. These days they'll give you a dialogue option in parentheses. It'll tell you like, this is the good response. Like it'll tell you sometimes.
Sure.
But yeah. So the first game, this second one though that you're seeing here, it is a much longer game. Just the story overall has a lot more act to it, more twists and turns. It's just a more fleshed out experience. Built on the same system, it's prettier to look at. Combat's a little bit smoother. The big battle combat with the war when you're controlling your units is more thought out too in the second one. And it's just overall just better. Like the characters are more interesting and all that stuff.
Are they sequels to each other? Or are they standalone stories? They are sequels.
Yeah. So the second one takes place after the first, and a lot of characters like this guy right here, Flick. He is a major player in the first game. And one of your immediate companions and like supports throughout the second game too. So like,
love it. Okay, that's
so there's
cool.
Flick and Victor; those two guys are with you.
The save carries over, right?
The save can carry over, and I don't know what there's Victor right there. I don't know what the numbers are in terms of like, is it 40 characters from the first game are recruitable in the second? I don't remember what the numbers are, but it is a good number of them, and there are a lot of new ones too. So these two are really closely connected. All the other Suikoden games that came after it are much more loosely connected. They're much more set
Right.
apart.
Yeah, I remember
individual
like starting
stories.
4 and being like, this has nothing to do with 3.
Right.
Like yeah.
Yeah, so 1 and 2 are, I mean, they were also released within a couple years of each other, so it's kind of like they just continued on the story.
I love that. That's cool.
And you do have a
It sounds like
chance.
there is a lot of things that they made better in this. I mean, because I heard in many reviews say the same thing you just did. That the second one's just kind of all around better in terms of its
Yeah.
storytelling and mechanics and stuff like that. So
Yep. And there are some mini games too, like some dice throwing mini games that they add into the second one. I'm blanking out right now if the first one has any. If it does, I can't remember. But the second one definitely has a dice throwing mini game, kind of a not the same as Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That's a unique one I had never played before. But yeah, pretty much any character that you run into that has this kind of a pictured face, they're either just a really key character they want you to know about, or they're recruitable. So
Cool.
a lot of times, if it's just dialogue with anybody, it'll just say right there, Ricky Morrow. So like this guy Bolgan, this girl who comes over to talk to you, they're all recruitable. So usually, I remember when I would see, they have a face.
Character portrait, yeah.
I can recruit them. So then like that's usually that was the giveaway back in the day.
That's
when
cool.
we used to play. So and then of course there's the castle building. I'm not sure if this review will.
Dude, you're
show
saying
any of
so
that.
much that like when I'm thinking about Ayuden, it's like, man, that really was like a pure spiritual success. Because like
so
even
much the same.
even
Yeah.
when you started this conversation about like them being like, yeah, I don't know if this empire is like they're kind of bad. Like there's an element of that in Ayuden. It's like, oh man, like wow,
The
they
war
really just
stuff
took like all
and,
these so cool. That's really cool.
But then, yeah, there's an element in Ayuden as well where it's like everything's looking pretty hopeless. Like you're outnumbered, outmatched completely, and you're kind of starting from scratch. Should we start building the fort? This place is really crappy, but hey, look, we just rebuilt the farm over here. That's pretty good. And you start to like bolster it, and it starts to get really, you start to feel powerful. You're recruiting people, and you're like, I think we might be able to do this. All of that adrenaline build, which is so exciting as a gamer, you feel like you're in control, even though you're being guided to it. It's just brilliant when that happens. I think
it's so fun.
some of my favorite RPGs, like Fire Emblem does this, Final Fantasy 6, 7, 8 to a degree, but 9 even more so. Like you kind of get in a desperate state and then you rebuild as a group, as a team, and you feel like you're ready to go. It's just such a good feeling when they do it in the right way, you know?
It's one of the things I really liked about the newest Dragon Quest was like halfway through that game, like you just kind of lose and like the whole team gets scattered and you just kind of like have to reconnect with everybody. And I'm there with you. I love that. I love that when a game does that.
Yeah. Yeah, even like playing Red Dead Redemption 2 again, when you go to like the island and everything falls apart and you have to kind of
like, a good comparison.
Yeah, you have this moment of like your fish way out of water. I had everything set up. What the heck's going on? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 does this at least 2 times where you totally get stripped down of everything and it looks like it's the end, you know, and they just kind of have these desperation moments that last for many missions in a row until you finally like, and it's such a good feeling. And so when games do it well, it feels great. Suikoden, both games, especially the Sega one, they do that a number of times, and it's excellent. The combat is really great. There are unite attacks where you can team up with other characters if they have a special connection or bond. They'll do a special unite attack. There's also these runes which you can, just like in Ayuden Chronicle, again, Dan, you can equip these. They're just called runes here, or orbs, I guess. And you can attach or detach them, and it gives you, depending on their magic skill level, they can have a different set of moves with that. So if you have a fire orb with someone with low magic, they might be able to cast fire arrows. But if you give it to someone like Luke, who has super high magic stat, he can probably do all the way up to this fire bomb. Like he can do everything with it because he's got a high magic stat. So to me, as a kid, I remember thinking, that is the most in-depth system I've ever heard of. Like in my head, it was like the idea of making not really making a build, but leaning in on a character's strengths, I guess.
Well, like acknowledging Luke is more powerful with the fire. Like,
That's
well,
right.
I'm obviously going to give it to Luke, and then he can do all this crazy shit. Like, you know.
There's also this element. I know it's in 2. I'll find out if it's in 1 at some point and let you know if it's there. But as you get 2 really strong magic characters, if they cast the highest level of compatible elemental magics, they will, without doing a special unite attack, it will automatically unite it into this mega magic attack.
Cool.
And it's so, I remember doing that by accident as a kid. It was probably like 2 a.m. in my room, and I stood up like,
did anybody see that?
yeah, it was some kind of like wind fire. I forget what it was. Some kind of wind fire
I
combo
love
that
that shit.
I
Dude, I
accidentally
love that.
did. I was like, what is this? What is
Dude, this is the kind, like, it's insane to me. Like, I mean, there's obviously a lot of excellent games, and in this case specifically RPGs, because that's what we're talking about. But there's just like an element of like these older games that did these really just, it's something as simple as that, just like a secret little, like, it combines the things. It's just missing nowadays, and I don't understand why.
Yep.
Like, it makes no sense. Like,
Yep.
it's just so cool and
Yeah.
simple. Like,
Totally agree.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
with you.
I'm really, I mean, I'm digging it. I'm absolutely playing through both these games again, no doubt about it. And I'm just having a blast with them. I do think you would, again, knowing both of your tastes, if you ever did
Oh,
have
yeah.
time and give them a real
I'm
chance,
scooping them up
think
next
you'd
week. Yeah.
I think you'd both really enjoy them a lot.
I need
Well,
another game to
yeah,
get
I
me
mean,
on my computer, and
Yeah.
this was kind of the one I was looking at. So
Yeah.
gonna say I have a.
Green Man Gaming had it for 35 because it's normally 50. So if you want to get it,
I might have it out in the living room, but because I picked up my copy as I did tell you guys.
So you got a physical copy of it.
Yes, I did
For
at
PS5?
GameStop. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, do you want to tell us what happened when you went to GameStop?
Okay, so story time.
Yeah.
Okay, jeez. Wait, so yeah, again, it's not like some super long, complicated story, but it's pretty shitty, and it's, it sucks because it's like, I mean, I worked at GameStop as an assistant manager, so I know what it's like. Yeah, I know what it's like, and just working in retail in general, stressful. But like for GameStop specifically, just how corporate is just so down your throat about numbers, which is obviously a very common thing in retail, of course, but they're really bad about it.
GameStop was considered one of the worst companies to work for multiple years in a row because of this, the interference with corporate and like numbers and really pushing subscriptions. And if you don't have this many pre-orders by the end of the week, they just fire you because there's somebody else waiting for your job right outside right now. It's that job sucked. I was assistant manager too, so it's funny to hear that you reached the same level of crappiness. So that's good.
Yeah. But so the GameStop that was closer to me closed last month, which sucked because it was a pretty solid location. Like they weren't too egregious with that stuff. Like they would ask, like if it seemed like it made sense. But otherwise they pretty much would leave me alone. So I was like, all right, this place isn't too bad, but it closed, so that sucks. So now I have to drive a little bit further. Because they moved my pre-orders to this other location. So bad first impression. This situation was. So I went in, I grabbed Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remaster, and then I grabbed also actually Mario Party Jamboree because I forgot that we just didn't pick that up this past year. So I grabbed both of those things.
Nice.
So I went up to the counter to get rung out.
To give them business, right?
Yes, to give them my business, to give them my money. So he was talking to the guy that was in front of me, bringing out, and they were like going back and forth, which I always think is weird. It's like I'm literally standing here, I want to buy something. Like you guys are having a full blown conversation. Like, come on, can we move this along here? Like, I don't know. I just think that's
or just a standard like, hey, hang on 1 second, let me ring this guy up real quick. Like,
right,
do that.
I don't know if it's just because I'm the kind of person that like when I go into a store, I'm like I'm not there to chit chat with any. I'm gonna be cordial with people, but in and out. I'm here to buy something. I want to get out. But so then I went up to the counter. He's ringing me up. And basically when he's handing me the game and the receipt, he kind of like said something and I didn't catch all of it because in my head I'm also kind of like I want to go. I'm buying the game. I just want to leave. But he's like, yeah, I took care of that for you or something along the lines of that. And then I don't know if you guys have ever purchased the extra warranty for the games. So they offer that extra 1-year warranty for the games.
I've never bought
so
it.
he hands
Never bought it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so there's these little stickers that they'll give you. It's the same stickers that their price tags are, but it'll print the little barcode. So like if you stick that like inside your case, if something's wrong with your game, you go to them, they'll scan that barcode and be like, oh, you have the warranty. So he hands me the stickers too, and I'm like confused for a second, but like I knew what it was. So as I'm like, all right, thanks, have a nice day. I'm going out to the car and the stickers in my hand. I'm like, I know what this is. So I look at the receipt while I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, this motherfucker,
he charged
rung
you for
up
it.
the extra
Tacked it on.
warranties. He charged me without asking me.
Yeah.
He didn't even mention it. Like it wasn't even like he mentioned it and I was like, nah, and then like nothing. He just charged me for the warranty.
How much were they, by the way?
So I'm sitting. So I guess you actually with your GameStop card it does knock like 10% off. So it was like $4 and change
Okay,
for each
but it's
warranty,
extra.
which is like
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
$8
it's
more than you wanted to
$8
pay.
more than
Okay.
you wanted to pay. Yeah.
well like but again like the main core thing here is like he didn't even ask me.
Right.
Yeah.
He just rung it
Trying
up.
to improve those items per transaction numbers. You know?
Yeah,
He
Yes.
probably
we
didn't
call
get
that
fired at the end of the week.
non-consensual warranting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
That's
mean that's
I mean, he
what's
literally
happening.
stole my money. He stole my money. Like
Yeah.
basically is
Yeah.
what he did. So I'm sitting in the car that now I'm sitting in the car like conflicted. I'm like, I mean, do I go in and kind of be like, hey, like like, or do I like just go through corporate? So I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna go in and be like, I don't want this, and that's what I said. I kind of was like, oh, awkward. I don't really want this.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, I'll do the return. Like he
Yeah.
he obviously knew that I knew that he did something.
Jeez.
But yeah, I emailed corporate. Like I emailed them, so I'm
This
waiting
is
for.
why they're closing, just FYI. This is why GameStop sucks and why GameStop's like closing left and right and why your GameStop down the road closed because like GameStop sucks and they breed like this really weird culture of like shit like this that happens all the time. And yeah, I hate that place. I hate it so much.
It sucks
Go
because
buy your games from Walmart, which is also a bad corporation, but
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's what sucks, Kyle, because it's like the last bastion of like just pure like gaming,
I
like
get it,
nerd
man.
place to go
Man,
buy games
nothing
physically.
felt
You know
better
what I
than
mean?
going
Like,
to a Funko Land, riding up to it on my
Funko
bike,
oh
and like
yeah,
going in with like that
absolutely.
arm full of Game Boy games I don't play
Electronics
anymore. To try and get
boutique.
one game.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
EB games all day. I just loved it, you know. Like,
Mhm.
so I get it. I get like the want to be like, this used to be cool. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to
And
buy
it's
my
important
game.
because you need somewhere to
You
still
do.
go
I think you need
buy
a
physical
designated.
stuff.
I think you need a designated place too, because I don't always want to go to a mall or a Walmart or whatever.
Right,
Like, give me a
right.
brick and mortar store. You know, like I get it. I absolutely get it. But like when you do
Um,
stuff like this, like business practices, and then this is just like the bottom of the barrel in terms of the problems that this company has. Like, it does make it easy just to go, yeah, this is why y'all are closing. You know, like
Yeah.
this is why y'all are in trouble. Like this is why digital media is taking over is because no one wants to deal with stuff like this, you know, like that's
and this has been going on for years, and people have complained for years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's the upselling shit, which in my opinion, that's one half of the problem. I think the other half, or
Definitely.
at least this is what I was kind of like when I was working there. So the city that I was working, the mall that I was working in when I was working at GameStop, I was in a much smaller store that was on the second floor, and then in the same mall there was another GameStop.
Yeah, so
that was like
that's what happened. So what happened at our mall as well was that there used to be
Okay.
an EB and there used to be a GameStop, but then GameStop bought EB, and so now
Mhm.
there's two GameStops
Okay.
in a mall. Like that's probably what happened. Like that's what happened.
But Kyle, did you also have two more locations 10 minutes down the street? Two more GameStops down the street.
I'll beat you. There was one location in the parking lot of the mall that was outside of the mall. So yes, Dan. And then if you went 2 streets down, there was another GameStop in that direction.
Oh, okay,
If
so
you went
there
2
you
streets
go.
down in this direction, there was another GameStop.
So that was
they
the other
opened
half
up-
of the
they-
problems.
They opened up like Starbuckses, and they failed
Yeah.
just like Starbucks.
That's so
where you-
dumb.
you-
Why open
you-
so
you
many?
bursted your own bubble.
They
you
didn't
know?
need
like,
to. They
it's
didn't
so
need
crazy.
to.
Yeah, opening so many.
So that
is
was the
just
other
silly.
problem. They didn't. Yeah, they just started opening up a million locations that they didn't need to do, and then again the
Yeah.
upselling shit. Like they, yeah. I mean,
You know what I'd like to see?
Yeah.
I'd like to see retail stores that do like D&D figurines and like deep cut board
Yeah.
games and all that. I'd like to see them kind of do both, where you've got
I would
physical,
love that.
digital
Like,
gaming
this is
media
your
with
nerdy, like
Yeah.
brick and mortar stop. Yeah, when you
Right.
get everything. Yeah, you can get Warhammer.
We have one
figures,
right
you
down
can
the
get-
street. My kids love going to it to get. He'll get D&D stuff or new dice or a book, or just go to hang out because they also have like rooms where you can like reserve
I
a
used to play
table to play.
Warhammer.
Yeah. Warhammer, yeah. They don't have video game stuff, but I feel like they could. I think they might have a little
could.
bit, but they could. They should. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the ways that something like
That's
this
a
could
space
be
that
handled.
I really wish that would take over, and I wish mom and pop stores could survive more easily too. Because I did just
Yeah.
like, hey, this is a used video/video game store. Come on in, and
Yeah.
like I just wish that there
I
was
have
a space for that.
they opened a new location, so I think they either have 2 or 3 altogether now. There's a little chain that's starting to kind of flourish mom and pop, Bowser's Basement.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Love the name.
Yeah.
In my state, and there's one that's kind of new, close-ish to me. I forgot about it, and then the other day we were driving by, I was like, oh yeah, Bowser's Basement.
Bowser's Basement. Nice.
So I should check that out. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's just yeah, it just sucks because I mean, like, I also like trading like occasionally once in a while, even though I don't like it. But then I'm like, I do kind of want to trade in a couple things just to knock the price down. So it just it is convenient at GameStop. The system works in it.
Yeah. Well, it's been around forever, so
yeah. It's just the upselling shit is just, I don't know why they haven't figured out that, like, that's what keeps people away, and that's what pisses their customers off. Like,
the move that I kept on getting, which I was just like, I'm not coming back here anymore, was you would go there and it'd be like a really popular game, like let's just say, I don't know, Madden or Assassin's Creed, just for the sake of moving the story along, and you show up and they're like, did you pre-order it? I don't know if we have any extra copies. We asked you to pre-order it, right? And so it's like they make you feel bad for like not taking their extra.
Right. It's the pre-order.
And like I was like, I know for a fact you have 85 copies back there. I know you do.
Right.
And like, and y'all are closing, so I know 85 people aren't here buying this game. Would you just sell me a game?
Give me
like you have to be like rude to get a copy of a game, you know, like. And once the customer experience is like, well, if you go up there and you're just rude, you get what you want. They have to make you come back in and cancel. Like, can you return this because you charged me $8? And like, maybe you didn't feel rude, but like you were conflicted about going in.
Right. I was conflicted as someone who was in his position. So like, it's like he obviously most likely didn't want to do that. It's that he felt like he had to in order to keep his job. You know what I mean?
Well, the fact that you have to deal with it at all is just insane to me, and like it's just like, and like it doesn't feel good to have to be like, when I have to go in and put my foot down. Yeah. And like, I don't know. There's just something about that like you're bringing something out of a customer so they can defend themselves, so you don't steal their money, and like I don't like that.
Also, it's been how many years since they've done this warranty stuff there? So many years that they've been doing this, and part of me is like, have you guys in all these years not thought of any other ways to create more value for your provide more value? Like, you can't. Warranty's the only thing you got.
Have any of y'all bought one of those before? Like I feel
I
like
might have for a console way back in the day.
Maybe a used game or something where you're just like,
never for a game. I don't think
this is like a scuffed up. Like maybe I'll buy it. I don't know. I've never bought one of those, but like. I just feel like you probably take care of your disc stand.
Oh, absolutely.
You probably take care of your disc, so it's like, who's that? It's not for me, so like I don't know who that's for. Is that for tricking the soccer mom who's buying a game for their kid?
Oh,
and they're like,
and that's the thing.
And she'll be like, well, he does drop it a lot.
Yeah, how discs get scratched by your dumb kids. Like, like you can bring it back, and like, so you're tricking a soccer mom for $4. Like, I don't know. I don't feel good about the practice at all, and I feel like it's predatory. It's weird. It's like microtransaction-y kind of,
Oh, for sure. They've been doing that for years. That's been the whole thing.
And even when I worked for a game, like I refused to even like pitch that to people, even though like you had to have a certain amount of those by the end of the week. I was like, I'm not doing that. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. I'm not selling that to somebody.
Yeah, I generally take pretty good care of my disc games. There's probably a few that have floated around over the like old Wii games or something. I think we had an old Sonic Olympics game we got used that I found sitting loose in a toy box once, and I was like, "Oh shoot!" So every once in a while, something. But if it's something I care about, it's in a place that only I have access to it. I keep it secured. But here's an example of one. It's funny. My son just handed this to me today. He goes, "Here, Dad, I found a game. I have no idea where we got this, whose it is, why we own it, but it's a DS. It's a DS cartridge called Rubik's World."
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what this game is. I assume it's a literally like Rubik's Cube game.
It's worth $5 million. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you just hit the jackpot.
So what I was going to do here on stream or on our episode right now is just eat this to see how it tastes.
Eat it.
Oh, wait, that's Switch games, not DS games. Never mind.
They didn't figure it out yet. They hadn't figured it out.
Oh, actually, maybe that means DS games taste good. Maybe isn't that what that?
They might.
Maybe
that's why they had to like offset it.
But the lesson here, check your receipts when you go somewhere where they upsell you shit. Is basically, or just pay attention, because like some places like the transactions on the touchpad, which I'm pretty sure it is at GameStop, but I just wasn't paying attention because like I don't feel like I need to be like, are you trying to?
I don't know if it asks that specifically, but yeah, you'll get asked questions like on the keypad sometimes, and like you might accidentally say yes to something.
But it shows. I'm pretty sure on the touchpad where you swipe your car or whatever. I'm pretty sure it shows like if you're buying a couple games, it has like the text on the touchpad. I could be wrong, but so I would have noticed the
Yeah,
warranty.
usually
and be like,
it'll list
what's
things you're
the deal?
purchasing, right? Like,
Yeah, I feel like that's
Right.
yeah, man.
But again, I wasn't paying attention to that because I don't feel like I should need to stare at the touchpad to make sure somebody's not trying to steal, money from me.
I get
So-
like, yeah, someone out there is being like, Dan, you should just be more present while you're buying stuff or whatever. But it's like, I don't like, isn't it
yeah,
about
I mean-
also just about like creating a customer experience where
Right.
I don't feel like I'm getting railroaded? Like,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's a part of it too. Like, we should be having that conversation. Like, I don't know
Yes.
if being more present is, sure, yeah, if you're outside, like, be aware that not to walk into traffic or whatever.
To
but,
me, it's in the
Sure.
same thing as like when a place already has a default tip selected or something like that, and you're like, well,
yeah,
Dude.
because if you're in that mode, you're moving quick. Maybe you're chatting with someone while checking out, and you're not
Yeah.
totally there. All of a sudden, you gave them like a 30% tip, and normally like, well, okay, the service wasn't that good, like, and that was a lot. Like,
yeah.
maybe that's what you want to do, maybe not. I still think it's in that same boat of like, yes, all of us could be a little more aware, sure, but that was
Yeah.
nefarious. I think he's actually, I would imagine, as an employee, you're supposed to upsell. I learned this from watching the show
Yes.
Tires with Shane Gillis.
Yes.
But you're supposed to upsell, but you have to actually get them to agree to buy the extra thing.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's the
That's the whole
main thing
point.
is he literally didn't even ask at all.
Yeah.
So
If he-
it's incredibly
He could have let off
sneaky,
with, you look like the kind of person who destroys his games. You need this warranty.
Yeah, right. Just
but none
sliding
of
in.
that
I took
happened,
care
so.
of that for you at the end. You're like, what? Yeah.
Did he wink too? I imagine he
So-
winked when he did that. Well,
Yeah.
I don't even know. I
Slide
just
your stuff over.
he handed me the games and receipt and I was just like I want to go. Like I just
Yeah,
want to go.
that
But then
is-
he handed me the stickers too and I was like confused and then I realized
Cool.
what was going on.
Hey, buddy, get your
so-
resume brushed up. Your store is probably gonna go under.
yeah, dude,
so.
for real.
I mean, or he's gonna lose his job because I mean, I email corporate, and if
Yeah.
because I kind of honestly want to talk to the district manager and be like, listen, like this is really gross, but like you guys know that this is your fault. I kind of want to just like cuss out a district manager, to be honest.
Yeah.
It'll make me feel good as an
Yeah.
ex-employee of GameStop to cuss out a
Yeah.
district
Well, as a New
manager.
Englander, that's a
So-
muscle you need to stretch every 3 months, I think.
Right, yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
you lose it.
exactly.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah. I'm
So-
gonna ask him if he likes apples, and
Yeah,
when
yes.
he says yes, I mean, how you like them apples?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah,
what
Wow,
there
yeah.
was like I was trading in my like Xbox Series like S or something when I got my X, and they like I went up there and I was like, hey, I just want to trade this in store credit, and like man, I went to like 3 GameStops in the same night, and they're like, I don't know how to test consoles, so I can't take that.
Stop it.
I'm like, you're my third store, and I yelled at that last person. Well, yeah, when I say I yelled, Kyle yelled. I'm very meek. Like I don't like just scream at people in public.
Hey.
It's like,
Sure.
I'm like, hey, are you kidding me? Like this is my 3rd GameStop I've been to.
Hey,
Like
like,
this is ridiculous. That's
Hey,
that's
sorry
yelling
for
me,
saying so,
whatever.
but I'm frustrated.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm sorry I have to say this to you, but I'm like, how, like, are y'all, is this like part
Peeved.
of their, like, you have to like train, like, right to like, I used to work here, like, I know, like,
Yeah.
and how hard is it to like plug a console into like a small screen and like,
and they
test
were
it
by
real
themselves,
quick,
I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, they were by themselves, yeah.
So
You
they
should-
had
you
to
should have
have
been like,
been
dude,
either the
I'll
store
test it with
manager,
you.
assistant manager, or third key.
I'll
Yeah,
test
they're
it with you
key-holder.
right. I'll test it with you right now. Like you and me.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
test it
and
together.
it's just like one of those things where I'm like, this is why nobody likes you. Like, should be the easiest. This console is 6 months old. Like, it's not broken.
And then
you know?
Kyle
It
says,
wasn't
Actually-
and then Kyle softly says, "This vexes me. I'm terribly vexed."
I'm very vexed right now.
Actually, honestly though, Kyle, you know what? It probably was. So was it close to closing? You said, or
No, I wasn't an
oh, okay. I thought you said you did. Well, either way, they probably just were literally being lazy and didn't want to test it.
I
That's
had enough time to
probably
go
what
to
it was.
3 GameStops, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it wasn't like about to close or whatever. Like it was.
They were
just
probably
like,
just all being dicks. and
I don't
just-
know. They just didn't want to do it. I don't know. I know you don't have a bunch of these back there either. This is like when they were still kind of hard to find and stuff like that. I'm like, you guys want this? Like, you're gonna sell it tomorrow for $10 less. Like, you're gonna make a lot of profit off it. Like,
Yeah.
why are you not taking this from me? Like,
Yeah.
and I just want store credit. I don't want cash.
You're gonna
you know,
give me
like,
$13
Right.
of store credit. You're gonna sell it for $150. Just do
yeah,
it.
it's just great. And I like that was my most recent GameStop, and that was the last time I've been to a GameStop. I'm like, this is incredibly stupid.
Yeah, I can't think of the last time I've gone. It's been a while. It's been a long while since I've gone to one.
Now I have all these consoles. Like, where am I going to take these things to trade them in whenever I need to?
Well,
you know, like when it's time to upgrade or whatever.
It might definitely be less frequent because I mean, I think I only have a couple other games pre-ordered at the moment: Assassin's Creed, and then maybe Metal Gear. that might be it, or maybe a third thing. And then like when the Switch, maybe I do that with GameStop. Although
Yeah, I mean,
did
but
the
like, where else would I
PS5.
go to get? I guess I got my PS5 from Best Buy, so
That's where I got.
I got mine online.
I got
did the
Switch
online,
and
so.
PS5 from Best Buy. Those where I eventually got.
So maybe I don't, go to GameStop for Switch too, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
GameStop, you suck.
That's the moral of the story. Well,
Yeah.
listen, also out this week, we've talked about it a few times, but it's worth mentioning. It's out in early access now. Is Dragonkin The Banished is out. I have played it. It's again, it's not like it wasn't an immediate, oh, I must own this. It's interesting. The visuals are really cool. I just feel like the gameplay maybe doesn't have that oomph, that heaviness that I want it to feel, but it's got cool classes, some fun abilities, and it's worth a look if you like isometric ARPGs. It's worth giving it a look. So it's got a really cool style to it as well.
Looks cool.
So yeah, check out Dragonkin The Banished if that is up your alley. Also out this week, just came out this past week, is 2 Point Museum is now available. I think it's in the $40, $50 range. I think it is not on Game Pass, but maybe it will be at some point. Because the other ones I think did, or at least one of them did.
They did, yeah.
So, but yeah, again, as we've talked about this game a couple times before, looks totally adorable and super fun. Like just a real lighthearted simulation kind of a game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one looks fun. And I do like when you grow a business in a game like this and you see money coming in and you can really upgrade stuff and you have things organized in a nice, neat way on the screen. There is definitely that little dopamine fix or whatever it is that that hits.
Yeah.
Like, I could totally run a real business. I could do
I could
this.
run a museum. I can get this.
I think I should buy a museum.
Yeah, I think I was made for
I
this.
think this is for me.
Honey, we bought a museum.
Oh, also, Carmen Sandiego is out this week. I didn't get video of that, but that is out this week. I don't think it's got the best reviews, but it's meant to be educational, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's
That's classic, though.
it's so classic.
Check out this game. It's called Nights in Tight Spaces. First of all, it's a great
cool name.
name.
Love the name.
But it's got an interesting art style. People are really
like
loving
a card
it.
game?
Yeah, it's kind of like a card tactical game, I think.
Okay.
So you play cards. So not unlike that Marvel one, Midnight Suns or whatever. Some of those games that utilize cards and tactics action. So, but yeah, the visual style looks really interesting. I think it's quick battles. Think like Into the Breach and stuff like that moves quick. So that's the vibe I get from it. There is a demo, which I did not get a chance to play yet. Looks like it's got a roguelike element to it. If you see that little map, this looked roguelikey to me. Where you pick a path.
I just like the sketched design, design of the actual models.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's got a cool design choices. Like it really kind of makes it stand out a bit. Even the cards look nice. So they did a good job with the art on this one. So there you go. That one is called, let me get to the title screen here, Nights in Tight Spaces. So it is officially out. I think it's in early access, but it is out, at least on Steam. You can give it a look. So there you go. Also out now is this game called Everhood 2, which looks wacky. It's getting.
What is this? It's like a rhythm-based RPG game. Like,
and let me read the description real quick. Unconventional. Here we go. Unconventional ARPG where you battle enemies through musical encounters. Will be accompanied by a raven who promises to retrieve your voice if you slay the mighty mind dragon.
So this is a sequel to a game too?
I guess, or it's one of those games that starts at 2, which would be hilarious if they did that.
Yeah,
but
that too,
sure.
This looks cool.
But yeah, it's got a truly retro vibe, but also being very colorful and there's a lot happening. So, oh my,
wow,
that's interesting.
How salacious.
Interesting, Lucy. So anyway, yeah, that one looks intriguing. I thought it was worth highlighting, just because there's not a lot of.
This looks like something that you should do drugs beforehand and then play.
Look at that. That is wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it's out now. The title is even hard to read. Look at that. Everhood 2.
Sure.
It's on Steam and
Everhood
Switch.
Squared.
Whoa, man. This looks crazy, man.
Life, Secrets, and Death. There you go. It is out now.
Foreign Gnomes.
Also out now, Morkel Ragest Rage, which is a really fun-looking Metroidvania side-scrolling action game. Where you're this. Here, I'll read the description here too. You guys can probably see this, but here's the description. Let's see. 2D video game, platforming, action, touch of exploration. You are in control of Morkel, god of death and darkness, and lord of Ragast, whose main mechanics lie in breaking the fourth wall, so you can communicate with the player in various ways. but not sure exactly what that means. But
So it's like Deadpool. It's like Deadpool.
maybe it is. So yeah, I think this one looks pretty fun. If you like side-scrolling action Metroidvanias, give this one a look. Not that we don't have enough of those, but if there's a good one, I'm always willing to give it a shot.
Yeah.
The Ultra
doing
Super
something
Final.
unique.
I think it was an early access. That's why they just had a joke about it. This is the Ultra Super Final version. So I think it was early access for a while, but
They're being cheeky.
yeah, it's out on all platforms: PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, and Switch. Also out now is this game Fragpunk. This was the trailer from the Game Awards. This is, I believe, it is a roguelike multiplayer game, I think. But it's first person. It's got a really cool style to it. No idea if it's any good, but it is out now. If people want to go give it a look.
I think it got not canceled, but postponed on all consoles.
Oh, so it's just out on PC right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember reading an article about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that it's available.
It was like
on
2
the Steam
days
store,
before it was about to come out. They're like, "We're not ready." It's like, well, this is the 11th hour, guys. Like,
Wow.
I respect that.
I do too. Yeah, and
Hang
it still
on.
came out. It just came out. On
Can we
the thing
all
that's
just take a look at
on.
what's
Yeah.
happening right here? What's this?
I can't look at that. Can't look at that.
The tiny heads, shrunken heads.
Everyone's
Yeah.
got tiny little.
Well, there was a big head. There was a character with big head, so they got big head and small head modes,
Oh,
right?
there's
So,
the big head?
which is old school,
Oh,
very
look
old
at
school.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very old school.
Dude, I remember playing GoldenEye with big heads
So
and tiny
weird.
heads.
It
Yeah.
looks so weird with the little head.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that. But
See, so this is like another one of these games that has all these like, oh, look at these specific characters with their cool, unique looks and stuff. So it's like, is this gonna like pan out? Is it not gonna pan out? Are people
No,
gonna
this looks
crap
like
on it?
every free-to-play game I've seen over the last 5 years.
I mean,
Sorry.
It's
You're
got like
not
kind of like a
wrong.
paint thing going on, right?
Yeah,
Like, so maybe
everything's all
that's
this
unique.
like punky, like high-colored. Like, oh, dude, this has been the vibe for too long, in my opinion.
yeah, I'm not sure exactly if it's gonna stick, right? If it'll find that audience,
Right. Yeah,
but it's a
yeah.
free-to-play, fast-paced 5v5 tactical hero shooter, and I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm out.
No. I'm not trying to be
And I'm
negative either. But you said all the
Right.
most anti-Kyle gaming terms that you could possibly summon, like 5-5 PvP. Like, nope, I'm out.
I gotta
dude.
find
So,
5
like,
people?
So
What?
disgustingly
Like, I can't be
out, yeah.
more out than I am right now. I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that speaking of out, that is available. It's gonna show me Bill Hader and Jiminy Glick being interviewed. That is hilarious. I would watch
Alright, let's
that
watch
right now.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
That-
Jimmy Glick is the best,
Dude, that interview from, I think it was from last summer, is so funny. If you haven't seen it, it's because Jiminy Glick hosted Jimmy Kimmel for a little while, and one of the people he interviewed was Bill Hader. And Bill Hader, of course, is one of the most pleasant seeming people. I assume he's like that in
Yeah.
real life. He seems
I
so
hope so.
fun and so pleasant, but like, he gets a general belly laugh when he's with people that he thinks are funny, and that's what I loved about SNL with him. He would break, but it was very
He breaks,
endearing.
yeah.
Him and John Mulaney messing with each other, you know, with the writing and stuff like that. But then, like, the Jiminy Glick thing, of course, Martin Short, I think he's in his 70s. Dude is still quicker than anyone.
Yeah,
I've
I watch
ever
him on whatchamacallit, Only Murders in the Building.
Murder,
Yes.
That guy,
Yeah.
he's still funny.
I
Like
know.
it's so crazy how funny he is.
So watching him as Jiminy Glick, and he gets Bill Hader like 2 or 3 times. Bill has to like turn away because he's just dying. It's too much. It's too much. But anyway, so YouTube knows that I've watched a few Jiminy Glick things recently, so it wants to send me to that next.
Yeah, algorithm's working.
Yeah, algorithm's working. I will absolutely, as soon as we're done, I'll probably watch it. Yeah, it's probably gonna happen. So, anyway, so those are all the ones that I am aware of that are new. You guys know of anything else that we're missing that's worth calling out, highlighting?
Yeah.
I think those are.
Yeah.
I think those are the main ones.
Games. Those are literally all the video games.
Those are all the video games. Looks like there are a few others on Steam. There's always some surprise ones that either hit 1.0 that weren't listed originally, or maybe that I just didn't see. They just released. So, like, there's one called Do No Harm, which is a Lovecraftian medical sim. So if you want to look at that one,
Okay, that's kind of sounds
no
fun.
idea if it's any good.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's another Vampire Survivor like called Rogue Genesia that has very positive reviews. People are loving that one. So Rogue Genesia. But it's that, you know, bullet hell, ways of enemies upgrade your weapons as you go type of a game. So those are some other ones that are out. Okay. Let's talk about a few headlines, and I'll also pull up, since I didn't get a chance to double check headlines today. I'm sure there's others that I've missed, but we'll talk through a few, and maybe if you guys know of any headlines as well, especially the last couple of days, you can help me out and fill in some blanks here. But I'll go through a few of these. The Last of Us creator, Neil Druckmann, has talked a number of times about the potential for a third game in Last of Us. And I know all of us who love that series are like, hey, all right, that's exciting, because a couple years ago we talked about how there's a story outline ready, potential that is there, like there's more story to tell here, I think. But just recently in an interview with Variety, he said, the only thing I would say is don't bet on there being more Last of Us. That could be it. That's all I said. So I don't know if he's like playing with people,
Oof.
or if he really has like kind of spun back of like, no, that's not a story worth telling. At least not in the
or
full game.
maybe that's something they don't want to put their studio through again. All the death threats
Maybe.
and all the
Sure.
negativity
They could have
and
really.
yada yada.
They could be like, we're turning the page on like new IP moving. Like that's great because they got the sci-fi game coming out. Maybe they're just like, we're moving on to other things.
I mean, they're just gonna get death threats with this one too.
They already have, sadly. So
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like this is kind of like I'm not sharing this toy anymore. That's how it reads to me.
You know what? That's true. Yeah.
Like you don't get it. Well, you know what? We deserve it. To be honest, we deserve not to get it. I think that we as a community suck, and
that makes me so sad.
He wants to take his toys and walk away with them. Great. I think we were shitty kids in the.
Can I just say, like, you can play and enjoy a game, you can watch and enjoy a movie or TV show, and maybe you don't like some of the themes or messages or characters, but you can still enjoy it. It could still be a good conversation piece, or you can choose, if it's too much for you, to go do something else. Like, I still struggle with the need to control what creatives are making. You might not like it.
Sure.
You might think there's a trend that's not good or healthy or whatever. That's like fair. Have that opinion, and you might even be right in some cases. I don't know. All I'm saying is, it doesn't mean they can't make it. Doesn't mean it can't exist. Like,
I just hate the idea of everybody going, everything's for me. And that's how they view it. Like everything has to be for me. Like it's just like, dude, like,
and when it's not they
about you.
Their lives.
It's so not about you. And like,
yep.
Just because one thing isn't for you doesn't mean right around the corner there's not a thing that's so for you. And like, go find that thing, But like,
dude, I'm spoiled right now. I've hit game after game after game this year in 20 that are just like for me. Everything from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 to Monster Hunter Wilds to Split Fiction and the Suikoden. Like, I'm like, you guys had a couple of stretches like this last year between like Yakuza and the Final Fantasy stuff that was hitting. It's just like, what is happening right now? So like, sometimes you're gonna hit a wave that is like, this is right in the sweet spot for me, and that's awesome. And sometimes it's not gonna be. Like, for example, if the three of us, we just watched that Frag Punk launch trailer, none of us are interested in that game. Fair to say?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys right now, as I'm talking off screen, crafting your hate death threat tweet to the Frag Pump devs?
Oh,
fifth one. Okay.
I'm on my fifth one. I'm about to hit.
Dude, I'm writing a handwritten note with my blood.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, like I just like again, like I won't suffer that game. Like it's just like I won't even think about that game after we're done talking about it. Like it's so gonna be out of mind to me.
But you know what I think it is really like, it kind of dives then into like just the everyday problems of life and whatever. I think it's just mental health problems. I think people out there that do stuff like that, like, and especially death threats, like for your brain to go to, I'm going to threaten someone's life, whether you mean it legitimately or not. Your brain is actually broken. And people don't want to figure that out.
Maybe that's helped by what social media has become and stuff like that. Where the only way my broken brain gets serotonin or dopamine or anything is by like belittling people, and like that's the game to them. We enjoy playing games. They enjoy playing games, if you will,
Sure.
Mind games or bully games or whatever. Who knows, man? It also could be something as easy as like the Game of Thrones effect, just to play devil's advocate to my own, tinfoil hat theories here. Like, hey, the show is going to get to the ending before the game will, so we'll just let the show finish it up. You know what I mean? Like, it could be something as simple as that as well.
Yeah, Druckmann could have found a different, more passionate calling right now with TV stuff that he's doing.
Like, I'm gonna finish this story. While it's gonna be an alternate version, like you're gonna see what the third game is or whatever through the kind of extra seasons that we're about to. Because they said it might go to season 3 and 4,
Okay, yeah.
Or it will go to season 3. It might get a season 4, and then
I could see that because look at the reception for the show versus the current feelings around the game after the second game.
Yeah.
And let's not the third game would go even farther. It's gonna hurt you even deeper as it like that.
Sure.
And by the way, that's part of
Sure.
what makes the series so compelling is it hurts so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it does. Yeah, well, they double down on like the stuff that like you're like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, and I
they're
like
like,
that.
oh,
I like squirming.
did you say stop? Okay.
Yeah,
Here we go.
exactly. Yeah, it's like I don't want this
I'm gonna go
character to
even
fall
further.
any further, and he's like, "There's so much further to go, baby."
You
know,
don't
like,
even
I like
know.
I like that.
The well is so deep.
That's right.
It's so deep.
Yeah.
But like maybe it is that. Maybe it has nothing to do with like like not
That's a
putting
good
the
point.
developer. Like maybe it is a Game of Thrones effect where it's just like, listen,
Could be that.
we created a show. It's bigger than the books now.
Yep.
We're gonna finish everything here for better or for worse. Everyone's got opinions on how that ended up. But like here we are. It kind of seems like there might be a parallel here as well. So.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I do think there's also the element of people love an IP, and a lot of times the anger, as weird as it sounds, and even the hate can come from a place of they were really passionate fans at
It's
one point,
I
and
would say
now
it's
they
all passion.
now they
Yeah.
feel like scorned, almost like scorned
Jilted
lovers.
lovers.
Yeah, yeah, where they're kind of like, oh, you went a
Sure.
different direction away from me. You don't care about me anymore. Well, fine. No one should like you then. Let me. So like,
Yeah.
it's very narcissistic, Dan. You're totally right. It absolutely
Yeah.
is. I think all of us could be that way. Like, for example, you heard me gushing about Suikoden. Like, I could keep talking about that game. I love the game. I love the story. Even with the remaster kind of missing how good I think it could have been, it still is so much fun. But that series went some weird directions, and I didn't love it forever. Like,
Yeah.
Sure.
I really fell off after 3, 4. Lost my interest really quickly. I've heard 5 was pretty decent, and someday I want to go
Yeah.
play it.
Yeah.
I heard 5 is like on par for 1 and 3 to a lot of people. They kind of compare those. So that sounds
Yeah, I
great.
think 4 is just the one that's like,
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
meh. It was like it wasn't really. I don't think there's a lot of love put into it. You know what I mean? But all that being said, I can't imagine. And as much as I will always love and fight for how good the first 2 and even the first 3 games are, I can't imagine trying to find the Twitter handle of a developer there and being like, you
Yeah.
should die because you ruined one of my favorites. I just was like, oh,
Right.
all right, these RPGs, first 2 entries are for me. Third one was really fun. I like that one too. The rest of them, not so much. And they did a bunch of spin-offs too. I think they even did some mobile stuff. Like the Suikoden series.
There was a DS only game.
There was a
also.
DS only
dude, the
game,
DS one. Yeah.
which wasn't that good. I still own it. It's just not that. It didn't do it for me. I've been told, by the way, but told indirectly. I have read in many different like on Reddit, and I've done some googling. Like, do people like this game? There is a pretty staunch fan base for Suikoden Tier Chris. I just haven't given it a fair shot. So all that to say, it'd be easy for me to be like, well, you ruined my favorite thing. I hope you die. Or I could be like, oh, okay, well, the first 2 games are still totally my jam, and then the third one is also in that bucket.
It's called you being a balanced individual.
Well, it's called just taking things like, I don't know, in a really sane manner. I don't like Metal Gear Solid 5. I will sometimes ratchet up the comedy about how much I don't like that game. It has never dawned on me to be like, I won't play 1 through 4 ever again. I'm gonna like reach out to somebody. Like I play all of those games every year to this day.
That's a great
period.
example.
Like, it's just you can still enjoy the things that made you happy while being critical of the stuff that you
Dan didn't like
later.
15, but I don't think he threatened Square with bombs and killings.
I mean, there was, there
a
was
little bit, maybe a little bit. So all of us.
flew
had
to
He
that.
still
Japan.
thought, but like he came back.
flew to
for
Japan.
16. He created entire segments for the show for how excited he was for 16.
I know.
Because
Yeah.
He's not an insane
That's true.
person where like 15 didn't meet his
That's
what
right.
he wanted out of the game. It was he's
Right.
like, this series is damned forever.
That's
Like
it.
I don't know. Like,
So we've
I am
all
playing
we've all had
Metal-
this thing.
I'm playing Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta when it comes out later. Like I'm still a shill for that series.
So I think that's why, for any of you watching or listening, that's why it can frustrate the 3 of us, because we are all like really passionate fans about something, and in many cases multiple things that we are like, that is a huge part of my childhood or like middle school years, or maybe got me through a tough time. Like we all have these, or a great co-op with a friend, and then maybe a follow-up experience to that, or a sequel, or the same studio goes a totally different direction, or what, or they go into just mobile games. We've all experienced that where we're bummed, we're disappointed, like, oh, it's too bad. I wish they would have kept going or whatever. But I don't think any of us, we could all empathize with being disappointed. Fair to say.
Yeah.
We can even empathize with being like maybe even irritated to the point of like, ugh, I'm really frustrated that they're not
if you're
doing this.
frustrated,
Yeah.
But I can't.
All feelings count.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? Like,
What
they
I
don't
can't
matter.
empathize
Yeah.
with is acting on that frustration.
Yeah, I feel like that's
like that.
how you
I
judge
can't.
a human being also is like how they react to something, like when it's
Yeah.
not going their way or
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like if your go-to reaction is to like burn bridges, you know, like it just I don't know, go to therapy. I don't
Yeah.
I don't really know what to tell you.
There
I
are
don't
lines to cross, and people cross
Yeah.
those lines. So yeah,
Yeah, and it's
what Kyle said, go to therapy.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's also
Like
tiers to
like
it. Like,
spread.
okay, maybe you go to a discussion board and you rant.
yeah,
I
ranting's
I
okay. I
I
feel
don't
like
do
ranting's
that, but
okay.
I'm like,
Yeah.
fair enough. You just wanted to get it
Yeah,
out
I
there,
don't
and you wanted
either.
to see, some people laugh at you and make fun of you, but there's gonna be a few who are like, dude, I'm right there with you, and
Yeah.
you can commiserate. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
Free
sure.
country, do your thing.
I think that's how, at least you're like opening up a conversation. Or
That's as
something like
far as
that.
it should go. You
Yeah,
don't need
I
to
agree
track
with
down
that.
the
And when people
DM
chime in to laugh, react, or like you
Yeah.
know, like or
clown
not agree
react.
with you, like don't. I don't know, like don't be a dick about it, you know,
Yeah.
being like, "Whoa, you hate bad video games,
Yeah.
that's why you
Yeah.
liked it, or why you're disagreeing, or
Uh-huh.
whatever." I don't know, man. I just feel like the value of a human being is judged by how they react to things,
Yeah.
and like so like maybe reel it in a little bit,
Maybe
when
pull it back a
you're
little
feeling,
bit.
when you're feeling
Maybe,
hot, like whenever you're thinking about something, it's making your body feel hot, and you're like sweating, like don't just say the first thing that comes to your mind, like it, like reel it in. Go, why am I feeling this way real quick? I don't know.
That's right.
like maybe
Like
maybe
you're
try
not a
and-
toddler, like you're an
yeah.
adult.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
use
in
your
a grown
adult brain,
adult, in a lot of cases in
Like-
your 40s.
And by the way,
Listen to
there
this
are
shit,
people who love a thing that you do and they make games. And I promise at some point, some version or spin off or spiritual successor of that thing in some way, shape, or form will come back and you'll find
Yeah.
a new. It happens all the time. Like there was a long drought of side scrolling, believe it or not, side scrolling Metroidvania action adventure games. They just weren't being made for a long time.
Yeah.
When 3D became a thing, those kind of disappeared. They were still around maybe on the Game Boy Advance and DS a little bit, but for consoles,
yeah.
for the 360 and PS3, and even for the Wii, it was almost exclusively 3D stuff. And then you had this resurgence, this retro push, and now it's like every week, you guys have seen it as we show videos, every week there's a new really cool looking Metroidvania side
because the
scrolling
indie
action.
devs fill the void.
grew up playing that.
Someone grew up playing it just like you grew up playing the thing that you love, and they were like, I'm going to make that thing because I love this thing. Eiyuden Chronicle exists because someone, obviously the Suikoden people, but they just knew there was an audience and a love for that. So, guys, it's going to be fine.
I'm going to make a reference that no one's going to understand, but in Twin Peaks, there's a person called the Log Lady, and she will actively say this line, that gum that you used to like is going to come back in style. And it's a theme that David Lynch
that's
created
awesome.
to let you know that everything is cyclical. Everything that you do, everything that's in this world is cyclical, whether it's entertainment or whatever, So it's like that thing you like is going to come back in style. Just I don't know.
Dude, it happens with movies too.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree that
yeah.
Gladiator 2 didn't need to be made. It doesn't make me hate Gladiator 1, and I don't need to go threaten Universal or whoever. I forget who even made that.
But we might get a really cool Gladiator movie down the line.
We might.
Like that's not of the series, but like just because someone grew up watching Gladiator, they're like, I want to create
make one of those.
a new Gladiator movie that has nothing to do with the series. It's just gladiatorial combat,
That's exactly it.
You just gotta wait,
Same thing happens with music. Real quick aside, speaking of music, so like I'll hear people say like, all the music today is garbage, and I'm like, you're not looking in the right places. Then like maybe what you thought of as the top 100 Billboard whatever in your day was your style, and now the top 100 on the popular music is different. Totally fair, but you have no idea. Then you're not looking because there's so many. And our buddy Jeff could say this more than anybody else because he's in this music industry doing his thing. There are so many artists and bands and groups out there. I actually can't think of a style you can't find or some weird combination of styles you can't find.
Yeah,
there's plenty. I was driving. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was gonna. It's like I'm of the mind. Like I'm of the mind. I like to find new bands. I'm not like one of these. I actually think it's kind of odd sometimes when people are, and I guess this applies to all sorts of things, all sorts of media. But the people that really just stick to like, say like, I listen to like music of like between 1980 and 85, and I only listen to these bands, and I'm like, but like there's so many other bands like out there,
again, there's
and
bands
like
that grew up listening to those bands that you're talking about, who are influenced by those bands who make bands just like that. You know, like it's kind of
there's just so much music out there, and again, this extends into other media. But like, I mean, I found one of my newer favorite bands, and I say newer even though I found them like a little over 10 years ago, is Periphery. Like they're a metal band. I fucking love that band. They're amazing. And I found them like literally as a recommended on YouTube. I was listening to something,
Nice.
and on the side it was just I saw like, and I was like, oh, okay, that screen whatever, it looks cool. So I clicked it, and I'm like, dude, this is insane. Like I've never heard Degent. Are you guys familiar with Degent, which is like a
The genre
subgenre within metal? Yeah. Meshuggah. Have you heard of the band Meshuggah?
Yes, I've heard that name.
Yeah,
Okay.
Of course.
They were basically kind of like the ones that started, I'm pretty sure, the gent movement, which is, again, it's metal, but it's like, I think it's just kind of it's
a pacing. I forget exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's like the pacing is not like what like normally like a song is. It's just kind of like, it still works, but it's just a little more all over the place. But yeah, like I literally just found a new band, and again, it happens every once in a while. I find a new band, and I just think that mentality is
it's
if
work.
you apply that mentality, having an open mind, like you kind of just get to enjoy more, you get to absorb
cultivating
more
a taste
and
in music is work, you know what I mean? So if you're not willing to put in the work, and you're just like, well, I listen to what I listen to and I don't listen to like you're just not willing to put in which is fine, like it's supposed to be. I get it, there's music nostalgia, and yada yada, but like if you want to find new stuff, you have to listen to new stuff. Like it is a step you have to take.
Or new video games. Do you want to try? Do you want to
Absolutely,
maybe play a new video game? Maybe you have to like give it a try. You don't
Do
just read a review. Sometimes you don't just read a review.
Because you might stumble
like,
upon some stupid sim game that captures your mind and life for
you play something like
weeks.
Arcade Paradise.
Arcade Paradise. You're like,
and
why?
I'm just like,
why am I pulling gum off the floor and having so much fun?
This genre now, the chore genre, and it's the same thing with like when I played XCOM for the first time. I hated that all of that before I played XCOM, and now I will play every game that says, "Hey, we're like XCOM."
Exactly, dude. Totally.
So, again,
survival games were never my thing, and then all of a sudden Valheim came into my life, and it changed the way I looked at all.
Cultivating takes work, and some people just like to be comfortable.
Just as a quick thought on this, as we're talking about music and taste, all that kind of stuff too, I was very encouraged today by the youth that are out there. So I was driving, and then we'll move on to the next headline. This is a lot connected to The Last of Us, but I was driving my sons and I think there were 4 of their friends all in our van on the way home, and the radio was just on, and my son yells from the back, "Hey, play Guess That Song," which a lot of times I'll plug my phone into the van and I'll put on shuffle on a Spotify playlist of mine and see if they can name the song. And so this time I picked classic rock. It was just a Spotify automated playlist, classic rock. I was like, all right, let's see what they can do. These boys, they're a combination of 13 and 14-year-olds. They crushed it. And there was a few songs I didn't recognize, but like, of course, stuff like Crazy Train comes on. They all yell out the name and Ozzy Osbourne. They start singing along. I was like, okay, fair enough. All right.
Kind of surprised they know that though.
Okay,
awesome.
Let's see what else. Let's see what else we got. We got to "Sweet Emotion" by Aerosmith. Nailed it. I was like, okay. All right. So we got it, and it got it to a couple of AC/DC songs. Got into Def Leppard, and then the one that got me. 2 of the kids. It wasn't my sons because they don't really listen to much Creedence Clearwater Revival, but 2 other kids. As soon as Forbidden Sun came on, they screamed it out and started singing along, and I was like, "This is amazing."
Someone's dad likes Vietnam movies.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I just thought it was really cool where it's like, sometimes it's good to be reminded that, yes, maybe the overall trends of culture or generations go like, but they're each individual is like, and I asked the one kid, I was just like, how do you know these? And he's just like, dude, my dad listens to classic rock in the house, in the car, all day, every day. And I don't like all of it, but some of it I really do like. Whenever I like when I ask him what it is, and then I go listen to it. So like, it's going to be different for each individual, right?
It gives me hope.
Yeah, it should. It should give you hope. So there you go. It was also really fun for me to revisit, because I even told him, I was like, guys, most of these songs, there's a few that weren't before my time. Most of them were before I was born that they became popular.
Yeah, the classic rock I listened to was like my dad's music.
Exactly.
So all of the bands you just listed, and then even some older ones, obviously.
Now, also on the classic rock list, stuff like Pearl Jam, which made me sad.
Yeah, that just makes me sad. Yeah, Linkin Park's probably classic rock now.
But also, the White Stripes, Seven Nation Army was on there.
Oh, come on! I was out of high school.
Stripes.
I was out of high school when that came out. That's crazy.
But I will say this: when it came on, they all went wild. They loved that song. They all started going dun 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 dun, and they all were clapping. Like, I was like, all right.
White Stripes are
like, you should bust. I don't know if you have Rock Band, but like, I don't know if they've
played
Rock Band.
I actually mentioned it to him when there was a song by Kansas. I think it was Kansas. Anyway, no, or maybe it was the Def Leppard song. There was a song that came on. I was like, I actually hadn't heard this until I played Guitar Hero. And they were like, what? I was like, like Rock Band? No, I don't know what that is. I was like, oh,
Oh, come on. Yeah.
Guys.
There's a whole generation of people not knowing what that is.
Now, to
It's
be
so
fair,
crazy.
it's not really a thing right now, like unless you are
True.
looking for
Yeah.
it. But I'd love to see that make a resurgence because
I
that
would
was so
love
fun.
it. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
me too.
Well,
me
the wireless guitar that I showed you guys when I nabbed like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you can buy those, and you can then buy Rock Band digitally. So
And what's the game that
you
Jeff
can
was
do that.
playing? He was telling us about this last year.
Oh, it's on PC. It's like a freeware thing.
Yeah. Something with a C, I thought.
Shoot, it's something Hero. It's something Hero.
Okay.
I can't remember what it is,
remember it,
but
yeah.
it's on PC. So like
Yeah.
basically, people like will upload the songs, and they actually put in the work of like
Yeah, it's like a
laying out the
freeware
notes and everything.
software. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, good hope for this generation. And everyone, it's okay to be mad and frustrated, like Kyle said. Feelings
It's
are
okay to not
feelings.
like stuff. That's okay.
But don't take it out on other humans who probably, honestly, they, even though they worked there and they worked on that thing, they might agree with you that they wish they could make the thing you want them to make too. Maybe.
Probably,
like,
yeah. There might be more common ground than you
just
think there is.
don't-
Again, don't make hating stuff your whole personality.
Don't
like, just
open
get a
with-
different type of personality.
Just don't open with, I hope you and your whole family die. Just don't open with that.
Yeah, don't open
Sure.
with that.
Yeah.
Don't close with it either. Maybe just get it out of the lexicon.
Yeah.
But like,
If you need to build to it, fine, I guess.
Yeah, I would rather you build to it than just come out of the door singing. I still am against it, but
As a last resort,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, when it comes to entertainment, that's certainly a path you should consider.
This is my last resort.
There you go. Nice. Oh, by the way, there's this guy named Mac something on YouTube who will take popular songs and say, what if they were written by this other band like Audio Slave or someone like that? Have you seen these kind of people that are just incredibly who do that?
Yeah, I was. I think it's
like
what is it, Mac something?
Mac McCleady or I forget what it is. It's
if it is who I'm thinking of.
But he's great, man. He did like what if Creed wrote there was an Evanescence song and it was hilarious, but also like surprisingly like that. It's not bad. Or when he did the Audio Slave one, he sounds just like that's Chris Cornell, right? Wasn't that Chris Cornell? Yeah, it sounded just like him. Like it was really impressive. So anyway, and then that was a Linkin Park song called "Numb" that he did an audio. What if Audio Slave did "Numb" and it was really good. I was like, this song slaps.
10-second songs. Does that sound familiar?
It was more like
so it must be somebody else then.
What if. It's like, what if this band wrote this other band's?
Well, this guy does
song?
similar. He did what was it? We were watching. He did like a whole. Oh, it was Linkin Park, but hold on, I was trying to find it.
Well, now you have.
He did it like a bunch of different genres.
Okay. Yeah.
Shoot, where is it? I was trying to check my history real quick, but
you've watched too many.
So we can
you've watched too many videos. That's the problem.
Well, so Renee and I actually have been like watching way more YouTube. Where we kind of just like we're like, hey, let's like add an extra thing where like we can kind of sit here and like talk. And we've just been watching like all sorts of random stuff.
Yeah.
Like the most random stuff. Like mega mansion, like some realtor showing around like mega mansions and like all the different kind of like architecture of like it is actually pretty interesting because like some of these mansions are just super unique and it's like how do they even build stuff like this?
Yeah, it's Mac Glocky is the guy I'm talking about. So look him up on YouTube. He has one from just this past month that was called "If Audio Slave Wrote Numb" by Linkin Park, and it's really good. So highly recommend. Okay. A couple other headlines that are worth highlighting. The Microsoft Game Pass plans for this month have been revealed. Some of these games are already out, like Monster Train is back on Game Pass. It was on Game Pass before, but went away for a little while. That is back. I remember trying it and thinking it was kind of cool as a little roguelike card battler, but I don't know. Again, if it's not your genre, that's totally fair, but give it a look if you have Game Pass. Galacticare, no idea what that is, but that is on Game Pass. This is one I downloaded, and I want to give it a try, called One Lonely Outpost, kind of like a sci-fi Stardew Valley. The reviews on it are down to mostly positive, like in the 70% range on Steam, which doesn't mean a ton. It sounds like it's not the instant classic that Stardew Valley is.
It's not Stardew Valley, yeah.
but it looks interesting, looks fun. If you want to do
perspective's a little different, but
yeah. So that is on Game Pass, along with Enter the Gungeon and Mullet Mad Jack. Kyle is on Game Pass.
Play that game.
It'll be on Game Pass this Thursday. It'll be on Game Pass.
It's the best. It's so good.
Yeah, so check it out either on PC or on your Xbox. And then coming on March 18th, 33 Immortals will be launching on Game Pass.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
One.
So that is from I think it's Thunder Lotus is the name of the team. They did like the Spiritfarer and Sundered and a whole bunch of other games.
Oh,
So.
love that game.
Speaking of the number 33, Tim, and I didn't see it in the headlines, but real quick, there's this preview circuit going on for Expedition 33.
Yeah, the new turn-based RPG coming out in April or May? May. I forget.
April.
April. Okay.
April 24th, I think.
Okay.
And I was watching. So Kyle, the preview build. So when she booted it up, that I hang out in. So she booted it up because she got a code for the demo. So it did like a previously on Expedition, and I was like, okay, so let me look away real quick because I didn't want to catch any of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she was playing.
Everything else was like mostly just gameplay, though. Did you get to enjoy
so everything was just gameplay, and then just kind of like the cutscenes that do happen because it seems like it's what I was seeing gameplay wise. I think we're definitely very aware of. It was like the initial trailers. But yeah, like it looks gorgeous. It was running really well. Like, and again, like we've seen, the menus are so flashy and pretty.
Yeah.
I've been mainly just checking social media because there's a couple accounts that I see, like when they talk about previews, they kind of like give like bullet points, and like just everything that's being said about this game is just exactly correct and amazing, and I'm just so excited. It feels like such a PS1 like love letter.
Yeah.
You know. PS1 RPG love letter.
I saw a really good headline that just said, this game is finishing what Lost Odyssey started on 360. And I go, man, yeah, man, you just
what a great description.
That's the game, the name drop, yeah, like that's right, I'm right here, baby, I'm in.
All right.
So
that's good. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, there just needs to be more of this. There needs to be more of like, again, like we were talking about with Suikoden, like just little random like things like, combining attacks together and just like overworld map. Like, why did overworld maps go away? Like, bring those back, please.
A lot of games are bringing them back, which is kind of fun to see. A lot of games are bringing them back.
Yeah, I feel like that actually cuts some costs because you're not having to render this whole freaking empty world. You know what I mean?
Dude, I don't need everything to be a giant GTA.
Yeah, you can make an argument that the Tiny Tina game is one of the better overworld maps in a little while. Remember that one?
The Tiny Tina game might be a better Borderlands game than Borderlands.
It might be.
I gotta be honest.
But I loved that map because it was there was like secret stuff to find, and anyway, I liked that.
Still, you could still explore.
You could still explore,
not at the cost of like this huge rendered like open space.
And of course, you go into these areas and do all your first-person shooting and looting.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Anyway, nice. Expedition 33. I'm fascinated by it because that setting doesn't often get a high-quality turn-based RPG. That genre doesn't always hit with that setting. At least I don't see it very frequently, so I'm excited about that one too. That'll be on Game Pass as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is shocking to me. Yeah.
Can't wait. I'm so excited that's on Game Pass. Sweet. No, good call out on that headline, Dan. Do you guys remember Acclaim? Do we remember Acclaim?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what?
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
So I picture Acclaim, and I picture the little dot that goes across the middle of it, kind of like the opening little animation. I picture Turok. I picture NBA Jam, like a lot of sports games, and then a whole bunch of like licensed IP. I had to write some of them down because I forget. Of course, a lot of WWF games from Acclaim. Mm-hmm. Then you had things like The Simpsons, Terminator 2, Alien 3, South Park, and then you got Midway series like Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam were from Acclaim as well when they first came to consoles. So, but Acclaim, I had forgotten how long ago it was that they went bankrupt. That was in 2004 that they went bankrupt.
God, I didn't realize it was that long ago. Yeah,
it was over.
That's when I graduated high school.
Over 20 years ago. I was a junior in college then. Yeah, so that's a long time. But it is apparently back, led by CEO Alex Joseph, the former founder and CEO of Graffiti Games, which I'm blanking on a little bit with exactly what Graffiti Games has done. Yeah, and he's got a number of key board members and kind of leaders mapping out the way, including, speaking of wrestling games, Jeff Jarrett, the actual wrestler, is on the board. And he has a quote about how he's excited to bring back not only just WWF games, other great games from their catalog. And anyway, so I just thought that was interesting that Acclaim, kind of in a similar way that THQ went away, but then sort of came back, THQ Nordic, in its own way.
Yeah.
So.
And that went really well. So
it did. Flawless.
Perfectly.
Hey, Hey, Debbie Downer, get out of this. Get out of this podcast.
I think Acclaim maybe needs to reach out to their buddies at Tencent and maybe look for
Oh, yeah, they should.
A little extra
look for a
funding.
little guidance. Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited. That's awesome. Acclaim's definitely a name
especially if
that
they
we
start
all
doing some
grew up
fun
with.
licensed games. Like I'm down for playing some licensed stuff. Like I don't care if it's retro or not. Like give me some fun licensed games, man. Like I remember even playing stuff like Kung Fu Panda, the licensed game. It was a very simple but surprisingly fun little 3D action adventure game where you're Poe running around punching and kicking. I was like, yeah, we don't really do these licensed games much anymore. I wouldn't mind that. Like I was thinking of the Blade Runner 2049. Like how cool would that have been as a side-scrolling cyberpunk game or even an isometric kind of like all kinds of things you could have done with those kinds
A
of
Contra type game or something, side-scrolling shooting kind of game.
Could be really neat.
And then halfway through it, you figure out you're a robot and go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. See, Kyle, you get it. Guys, I don't know if you knew this, but Capcom is selling a lot of copies of video games. Monster Hunter Wilds is the fastest selling Capcom game ever. Now, it doesn't mean it's sold the most total. I think Monster Hunter Worlds is still holding that title at 28.1 million copies, which is insane. That's a lot of copies of a game. But Wilds is by far the fastest selling. In 3 days, it sold 8 million units. I'm sure there's updated numbers since then, but that's what we know from the first 3 days of this game being out, which is crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot.
It is. It is a lot.
Sometimes games project me like if we get 2 million copies sold like lifetime, that's great. And like they're like done.
It puts it in perspective, right? Like Alan Wake 2 finally hit 2 million copies sold, and they're so excited.
And they're happy about that. Yeah,
Right.
like they're like,
Right.
we did it. Yeah.
And
yeah,
Monster Hunter Wilds hits 8 million in 3 days, and like, hey, it's on a pretty good track. It's like,
we're getting there. I'm like, what do you mean you're getting there?
Yeah.
You're there.
Yeah,
You're there.
it's crazy. It really is crazy. to think
Square
about.
Enix would not be happy with any of
No,
this.
they
they're
wouldn't, no.
perpetually upset with their numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like they've already made good ground on probably catching up with Monster Hunter World. We'll see, of course, if the game kind of maintains that trajectory. But generally speaking, I think the reaction to it, as we talked about last week, has been very positive. I don't see why Wilds wouldn't continue to sell well. So that's pretty cool. Capcom, even when they don't hit 100% on all their games, a complete home run, they're still on a really good track right now. They've still been moving around at a pretty good clip with their games.
Yeah.
Kudos to them. A lot of crunching probably happening. Don't tell me about it though. Just give me good games. Don't tell me about the crunch. I don't want to feel bad.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Hey Dan, speaking of Square, the co-director who previously worked for Square on Visions of Mana, they launched a new studio. So this is let's see, Kenzie Ozawa. So they formed a new studio called Studio Sasankwa, officially unveiled this past week. And the main reasons he wanted to launch a new studio is so he could create an environment where management could take responsibility for bad results rather than placing the responsibility on developers. He told Automaton in the interview that he witnessed numerous incidents where management didn't take responsibility for the project and explained in his experience, even though management is responsible for making the investments, approving game projects, and other high-level decisions, when projects aren't successful, it's the creators who get laid off while management is left unscathed. So they're initially going to create smaller games using Unreal Engine and then build their way up. Listen, it's a great vision, and I love the mentality. It's such a great developer first mentality. I just hope that it works. I hope they can make something good so they can build on it, But I love the mentality. I love the mindset.
Yeah.
Everything he said there is just fantastic and
How
amazing and
utopian.
correct. So
So I hope it works out for them, because a lot of times you'll see people with really good intentions, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I hope this is one of those success stories that just kind of catches them. And I hope they can make some good stuff too. Like, it would suck if it's like junky little mobile games that no one cares about, and it's like, man, I still like your mindset for the studio, but you're not making anything I care about, So I hope they make some cool stuff. Which, by the way, they scaled back several studios, including Oka Studios, how do you say that made Visions of Mana before the game even released, which is just crazy. It was all, it's all projection based and investment based, and like, it's crazy.
Again, like we said, it's the whole like just being like not even telling it, because it's one thing again to be like, hey, listen, this is kind of like a temp thing,
Yeah.
But to just not even communicate,
crazy. All right, well, that's it for headlines and such. Why don't we wrap things up with anything else we are playing? I'll get mine out of the way first, and then we'll jump over to you guys. I did finish Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 finally. I was slowing it down because I knew, but the ending of that game, it's so drawn out in a good way. It's so epic. There's an actual siege that happens, and you kind of are on the inside of it, and it's messy, and it's actually kind of like after a while, it's like, dude, this is rough. Like this is so like, but it's so well done, and the way it
Mm.
finally concludes is so freaking satisfying. And then they give you a chance at the end to sort of answer for all your choices that you made. I won't say exactly how, but it's cool that you get to kind of respond to why you did or didn't do things in a certain way. Did you defend the innocent? Were you? I robbed so many people, but usually by like sneaking into their houses or like that kind of thing. Or I would like pickpocket. Once I figured out how to do that and got pretty good at lockpicking, I started to do it a lot. And so at the end, I kind of had to answer like, "Hey, why were you stealing from so many people?" I was just like, "Hey, I
Oh,
How to get by?
had to do it, you know." But anyway, it was really good. And then of course at the end, it even says like you've reached the end of the story, but now the world's open to you to go and complete any extra missions you have. And there's lots more stuff to do. But just like I thought would happen, it kind of like was this release and I was able to move into playing other stuff like Split Fiction and Suikoden this week without having that hanging over my head of like, "Ooh, I want to finish the big game." That game's over. Like the
yeah.
credits
Clearing
rolled.
the plate.
Yeah. That being said, I left it installed because this coming week they're about to officially release mod support, which I can't wait to see what happens
Ooh.
with what people do with
Okay.
mods for that game. And then also they're adding some features in game, they're improving some combat, and they're adding a whole
Huge patch coming out.
yeah, a whole barbershop system where you can change your facial hair and hairdo because Henry is pretty static looking for everybody, so you can change his look. So anyway, a couple little updates there before their first big DLC comes out, probably in a month or two. So anyway, so I finished that and absolutely loved it. Other than that, it's been mostly those new games that I mentioned, Suikoden and Split Fiction have been taking up most of my time. I will mention one other thing. Shoot, I'm blanking out on I remembered it while we were talking, and now I'm blanking out on it again. There was a documentary about these people who are playing this game, Perfect World. You guys ever see that online, that MMO game called Perfect World?
Oh, isn't that what Dwight's playing in the office?
That's Second Life, I think.
I think
Oh,
it's
that's
like
Second Life. Yeah. Right. You're right.
I gotta look up the name of this documentary real quick.
Perfect World. It does sound familiar.
Okay, yeah, it's called Perfect World: A Deadly Game is the name of the documentary, I think. It's just a two-parter. It's
Jeez.
pretty short. But the idea is you've got this group of people from around the world who, of course, have met each other on this game, have created friendships, whatever. But this one guy starts talking. I guess he's like a notorious troll. Has some other friends who are also trolls, which is an interesting look into the world of trolls, who are very kind of lonely, sad-looking dudes who admit, like, yeah, I just like to get on there and make people upset. It's things I can't do in real life. So I'm like, oh, all right, at least you're being honest about it.
Okay.
But anyway, this guy starts talking about how he's going to kill his family, and it gets wild. He starts sending pictures of like, "Hey, this is my dead grandma. I just killed her." Everyone's like, "You're messing with us. Like, you didn't really do this." And he starts one by one sending pictures of his dead family members, and he killed his whole family, like for real.
Ooh.
Jesus.
And so this documentary shows them
Oh,
as
boy.
they start to realize these other people in the game, and they're chatting on Discord, like, "I think this might be real." And one guy's like, "He just FaceTime with me and showed me them. It's real." And so they start to try to like figure out like what his real life
FaceTime.
with one of the guys just to prove that it was real. So it's a pretty wild. It's very dark, but it's really interesting because it's in our world of
Yeah,
gaming
right.
and online gaming and all that stuff.
Jeez.
So they scramble to try to, because he keeps saying, "Hey, my sister's gonna be home soon," and then like eventually it's my dad's gonna be home soon, and they're trying to figure out where he lives so they can call authorities before he gets to the next one. It's a true story. It's pretty dark, pretty messed up.
Crazy.
Jesus.
But yeah, it's interesting though. So that's it for me as far as what I'm playing and what I'm watching. Kyle, what about you? Anything that you are gaming right now?
Yeah. I did roll credits on Monster Hunter Wilds. That was
Nice.
great. You know, it's pretty. You know, I think it only took me about like 15 hours to get.
I've
through
heard the
that,
main
to get
story is
through.
actually like Act 1 of the experience of this. Of
Yeah,
this game.
yeah, and this is how all Monster Hunters are. Is like you'll wrap it, and then it's like now go play the game. You know, now play the game for real.
Yeah.
You know, and all the monsters are harder, and you get better materials at a drop, and those materials make better armor. You know, and you just kind of start the cycle over again.
That armor tree where you get to the next tier is so
Oh, It's so
Addicting.
satisfying.
Yeah.
It's super cool, man. I really enjoy it. You know, the game really opens up there at the end. Like that's where all the weather starts happening. You know, they talk about the weather a
Oh.
lot in the marketing, and you see it like once in the story. Like there's like a
Okay.
sandstorm, and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. But there's like lightning storms and sandstorms and all sorts of stuff depending on the biome you're in.
Nice.
The fights are a little harder. They're still pretty easy though, you know, in terms of that conversation of like this being kind of an easier version of the game, which
Okay.
I still don't care about.
Yeah.
People are still dying in my squad. I'm still dying every once in a while.
Also, the
So like
older I get, the less I want to die and waste time.
yeah,
You know what
I
I mean?
don't
Like, I
know.
want to win.
It's like
I want
if
to
I
win.
want to play Dark Souls, I'll go play Dark Souls.
Exactly.
You know, like so I am really enjoying it. I'm like 30 hours in now, so I'm like 15 hours into the end game, and like it is fun, man. I
Nice.
really like the structure of it. There's a lot of like side quests that you pick up from like people that you met during the story, and like that kind of like that's a way to stay in. Like if you need some guidance on what to do, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, like there's still a structure there that kind of helps you
Yeah.
get through stuff, which I do like. And then whenever you kind of find an armor that might be useful to you, you can grind down and just grind out that monster until you get all the materials that you need.
Yep.
Man, I really like this game a lot. It's just
You have a
really
favorite
good
new
time.
monster?
Oh man, they've added a lot of spiders, and I really like the spiders.
Okay.
I like killing these creepy
jeez.
guys. They're very fun, and I did like the fight with like the white wraith, like the main bad guy in the
main
game,
one.
the main
Yeah,
monster.
you see it right at the
he was
beginning, chasing the
a
villagers.
very epic fight, you know.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of epic fights. You know, Rathalos is back. You know, it's like the mascot of the series. You know, so you get a lot of like really familiar faces as well.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. And you know what? I like that the birds walk you to your objective, and like you could just put down your controller and go do something else or whatever. I like it, man.
I like that you can sit there and just zip all the items that you're going by to pick them up if you want to loot
I think
anything.
it's great. I think it's great. I know people like, I want to like hunt and investigate, and I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. Like, I don't care about like maybe do it once, you know, be like, hey, I found a feather. He must be this way. Like that, sure, you know, but like,
although by the way,
I don't miss it.
Monster Hunter World and Rise, they still exist. You can go hunt and like look at tracks all you want. That's fine. Do that.
It's fine. Yeah, I want to fight monsters. That's what I want to do. So I do like that the game just like gets you there just as quick as you can.
Yeah.
And I'm really liking online. Like I love teaming up with a bunch of people and just melting monsters. It's just so fun, especially a monster that really like put up a fight at some point and it's going back like with new armor and stuff like that. And you're just melting these guys in a way that's just like unfair and cruel.
You're like, you're so
fun.
easy.
Yeah, you're stupid. I can't believe I ever almost died to you.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. That game's a great time, and this is a game that like every week there's going to be like a special event, hunt a special monster to get a special thing, you know, and then sometime down the line there'll be a major update, and then sometime beyond that there'll be a major expansion, you know. So it's like it's just one of those games I am
at least
excited.
One really big beefy expansion.
Big beefy expansion at some point, I'm sure.
Have they already started the weekly updates, the events?
I think the first one started this week. Yeah.
Did it? Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
So yeah, it is very cool. The game again opens up a lot. You know, like your hunter ranking is kind of capped by like in the story, like you get to a certain point of the story, and it's like you went up a level. At some point, you just like that's your experience bar and that's your level, and like so everything you do is adding to that bar and making progress and stuff like that. Yeah, I feel like the training wheels just kind of come off, you know, once you roll credits, and it's cool. I like it a lot. Really enjoying it. Still making my way through Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza long title in Hawaii or whatever. This game's great, man. It's so fun. I say this every week I come on it. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's so insane. He even says it, like where he's like, how are we gonna handle this? And he's like a pirate Yakuza. I go, that's the name of the game, baby. They stuck it in somehow.
That's the name of the game.
It doesn't even make sense. Like, what does that mean? We're handling a pirate. What is that? I don't even know what that means.
I love that.
But I love it. I think it's so great. There was a whole section. I think I was telling you I'm dating like girls. Well, I was dating girls to match with my like first mate. And when you finally get them on a date, there's a full live action with the characters, like person who like their looks are represented off of the actor themselves acting against the other characters, and it's like very weird. I'm telling you, it's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced because the guy's like awkward and weird, and like he's like leering at these girls, not in like a creepy way, just like he's awkward and ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
And like I'm telling you, it must have been an hour and a half of me sitting here watching him go on a date with 5 different women. I'm just like, this is like, Alan Wake levels of like what's going on
Yeah.
right now.
Why
I
is
don't
this?
understand.
That's the
why
last
this is
live action gaming thing I saw was
Yeah,
Alan Wake
yeah,
2.
that's my only point of.
And before that, it was another Remedy game. The one that didn't. You know what I'm talking about?
Quantum Break. Yeah, I love
Quantum
that
Break.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's this game is so dumb and I love it. It's the dumbest the series has ever gone. I can't believe like the links that they went to.
You know
just
what?
to be
Embrace the dumb.
it's a fun first
You know?
game.
Yeah.
Like you're not having any like big pontificating moments for characters.
Did you
or
get the
anything like
grapple
that.
yet?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you
I'm
loving
like
the
grappling
grapple?
people.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, it's so fun. You could throw your swords like boomerangs and they come back to you. And
Of course.
it's
Of course.
So, why not? Yeah.
Physics.
Nothing makes sense in this game. At some point, pirates come all the way up to the beaches of Honolulu and shoot cannonballs at a resort. And I'm like, where's the army? Like, where? Well, like I don't. Like,
Where's the United States Navy and Army?
What's
Yeah.
happening? Like,
Yeah.
why? Where's the Coast Guard? Like there's nobody. Like, there's nobody anywhere to stop any of this stuff. It's just like Hawaii's
There is,
a lawless land, as we
The
know.
pirate Yakuza.
It's me. It's the pirate Yakuza. I'm gonna put it in it. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good time. I'm also, for whatever reason, playing Deadly Premonition again. I don't know why.
Oh, jeez.
I love the
That's
random
an odd
deep
one,
cut,
right?
man. That's great.
I love it. Yeah, that game is the only place where you can get like there's like 4 songs in that game. It's just like Twin Peaks. There's like 4 songs, and like because that's all they had the budget for, and they just play those songs at moments that don't make sense at all. So there's like this really like uplifting like whistly song with like a fun strumming guitar, and it's a lady talking about how her like husband's dead.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. That game might be the craziest game I've ever played in my entire life, and every time I replay it, I'm like, it's a bad video game. It's not good, and it's like makes it better that it's so bad.
Dude, I love your combo of games you have going right now. That is crazy.
I don't know.
Awesome.
I feel like I'm schizophrenic playing these 3 games at the same time, to be honest. I don't know what's going on anymore. Send help. Send help. Yeah, watching wise, I wanted to catch the Best Picture winner for the Oscars, a Nora one. So I watched that. Thought I'd hate that movie. Thought it was brilliant. I thought it was so one of the most alive movies I've ever seen in my entire life, and indie through and through. Like that director won Best Editor, Best Writer, Best Screenplay, Best Picture. So
did it win Best Director too?
He won Best Director as well. Yeah, and he did everything. He edited the movie. He casted the movie.
That's indie as indie gets, man.
As indie as it gets, yeah. So it's nice to see the little guy win, you know. And they've been doing that a lot lately, like
especially in a world like the Oscars, where it's all about the prestige and the who you know.
Yeah,
yeah. So nice.
Oppenheimer aside, you know, Chris Nolan movie winning like Best Picture, like that makes a little more sense. But like before that, it was Everything Everywhere All at Once, probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Before that, it was Parasite, a very fantastic movie. These are all indie movies, you know, so I like that the Academy's kind of going that way. But Nora's great. Yeah, give it a whirl. It is very sexual, so don't watch it with kids or don't have kids around.
Come on, kids, it's Oscar movie night.
Yeah, it is. One of the
By the
most
way,
sexual
the one
movies
that
I've ever seen.
won animation. Speaking of watching with kids, I do want to watch this. It's on
Which
Hulu,
one?
I think. It's called Flow. It's got this
Flow.
really cool animation
yeah.
style with this cat and these other.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. I need to watch it.
Yeah. I hear great things.
Yeah, me too.
And then Daredevil started on Disney, and it is season 4 of the Netflix show. With no pause. It is absolutely.
It's continuing the goodness.
Yeah, it continued. I mean, so there was all this like weird.
I might
stuff
just
where it's
rewatch
like, is it a
all of it,
sequel?
man. I want to revisit that.
Man,
series.
seasons 1 through 3 are so good. And 2 is the lowest rated season of the entire show. My favorite season. So just,
I like
season
2. Yeah.
It's got Punisher in it. It's so good. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a fantastic. So
2 episodes are out now, and then 1 per week for.
Yeah, 2 dropped and then 1 per week. Yeah. So yeah, that's fun. If you are, this is not like the bad run of Marvel shows that have been coming out for like the last 3 years. This is like, it feels like the Netflix show. It's dark. Yeah. There's a F-bomb dropped in it. People are dying. There's blood everywhere. You know, like it is high stakes, like, you know, dark storytelling, and I'm liking it. Yeah, we'll see how it ends up. You know, I think there's only like 8 episodes in the season, so we'll see how it all like paces itself out. But that's all I'm watching.
Very cool. Right, I totally forgot Daredevil was out this month. I knew it was coming soon. I just forgot it was this week already. Okay.
Yeah, it's fun to be. You know, I don't know. They've really needed a win. I think
they have.
I think
and you know what? I'll give them even, because I know you've enjoyed it more than some folks have, myself included. Yeah. But I'll even be a little more gracious to say it's been more of a hit or miss run than a bad run, because there have been
Mm.
some good things in
Yeah.
there, right? Like some
There's
good moments.
like
Yeah.
Loki's
Yeah.
fun. I really like what's the Egyptian one?
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Moon
Yeah,
Knight.
I like
Moon Knight,
those
Moon
yeah.
Knight
quite a
was
bit.
just distinct enough that it stuck with me, and even you could maybe argue it's not the best structured show or whatever. Okay, I don't want to. I'm not trying to evaluate it from like a cinematography or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just saying overall, it stuck with me. I enjoyed that Moon Knight.
It's
show.
different.
It's
Yeah,
different.
it's different without it being like
Maybe some
different.
forced plot twists here and there, but overall I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was good. Cool.
Cool. I'm glad they're getting something. They've.
Me
I don't
too.
know. It's hard to talk about Marvel these days without being like, ugh. So.
Is oh, and by the way, the new trailer, speaking of Marvel, for Thunderbolts, awesome new trailer. Did you see that?
I hope that movie's great. I hope it's really good.
The new
Vibe of
trailer
that looks solid.
Yeah, the new
Yeah.
trailer had this like, I think IGN made this post or tweet or something that I was like, what do they mean by this? They said it's a Marvel movie and also a A24 movie, and they were saying it tongue in cheek, but it does look like that. It looks like a real like dark indie film while also being Marvel. I'm intrigued by this one, man. I hope it's good. Comes out in May, and I'm actually I'm looking forward to it. I do plan on watching the most recent Captain America at some point. I just wasn't.
Same. I wasn't gonna catch that in theaters.
I just don't care.
It kind of came and went, and the reviews came out. Not that I'm like swayed by reviews, but like
it didn't convince me to get off my butt.
It sounds like y'all are still like focusing on stuff that I don't care about.
Correct.
It's like we want to make the Eternals make sense. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. We're gonna make Incredible Hulk make sense. Like,
they finally referenced
either.
it outside of the Eternals, though. That is nice, I guess. But no, the Thunderbolts. I encourage you to watch the most recent trailer. It's cool looking. So
people are gonna finally get to see. Like, people don't realize that they don't know who Marvel Superman is, and like you're gonna get to see him finally. So a lot of people are gonna get introduced to Sentry. Yeah, Bob Sentry. Yeah,
because they introduced the characters as Yelena. It says
it's just Bob.
And then it gets to Bob. But like it's got a nice combination of what looks very dark and like some sinister mind games happening, but then also some humor because it shows Winter Soldier trying to eat like a hot dog or something, and he keeps getting ketchup on his shirt. Like, oh man, like it cuts to like some silliness too. I don't know. I'm interested in this, man.
Me too.
Well, that's the balance that I feel like they have been struggling with more so, right? Is like be mainly serious, but like obviously inject some humors inject some levity when it makes sense. Don't just like.
But sometimes they do too much levity or they do too much seriousness. Yeah, they have a hard time. Like they have a hard time mixing it together. Sometimes they nail it.
I want them to be clearly having fun, which I know sounds kind of like shallow, but like if I can really feel through the screen as I'm watching it, like. The writers had fun writing this. The actors are having fun playing it. It's just a good time. And even when there's sad moments or whatever, like it's working because there's passion behind it. And so like, and maybe that part of that's been me in the phase of my mindset going into some of it. But I do feel like it's been lacking in a lot of recent Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that they had a whole phase of like hiring nobodies to direct these movies, and like they feel very corporate. And what I mean by that is like a cookie cutter and like
you're
safe,
right.
Yeah.
And it's because you get directors who like don't push back and say no. I want to be
without a strong vision. They just kind of go in.
They kind of toe the visual.
That's it. There's not a strong vision for what this thing's gonna be.
And this is what you get. You get kind of like lackluster, whatever stuff. But like, hey, maybe Thunderbolts is like the
could be a nice turning point. We got the Russos coming back for the next Avengers film, I think.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think they even mentioned they're very open to a video game tie-in, which I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I heard that too. And they said that they're letting Robert Downey Jr. write like the whole backstory for Doctor Doom, and that like he's super invested in like this character in a way that he really didn't want to be hands-on with like Iron Man. So it's like that interests me too.
If they can pull off this switch.
Yeah, they can pull this off, which I'm still suspect of.
That's going to be amazing because he's been Iron Man for what? 11 movies or however many.
Yeah,
it was a little over a decade.
That's crazy.
So. If you make Doctor Doom like stick, where I'm just like, can't wait to see more of that.
Yeah,
like, that's a
Did
win.
you guys see the I don't know if it was actually leaked or purposefully like, yeah, you guys can see this, but there's like the art. There's like some leaked art of like from the movie.
That's cool.
Okay, the Avengers what is it? Doomsday, I forget what it's called. Yeah. And it looks sick. It looks really sick.
Dude, Dr. Doom's my favorite bad guy.
I'm glad they pivoted away from whatever Secret Wars or Invasion or whatever it is they were gonna do.
They're still doing that.
Oh no, that's still happening. It's still happening.
Yeah. But Doctor Doom is the main bad guy of that
All right.
arc. So
Okay.
Yeah, they pivoted to Doom now
Instead
versus
of Kang, Yang, whatever.
Well, Kang was
Yang.
always being manipulated by Doctor Doom. Spoilers in the comics, so like it was always going to end up on Doom's door. But
we're just getting there sooner.
Now we're just getting there way sooner.
I also like that we're so familiar with the name Doctor Doom. We don't chuckle at just like the cheesiness of the name Doctor Doom for a villain. You know what I mean? Like it's something like
calling someone Doctor Bad Guy.
It's
Mr. Bad Guy.
It's an Austin Powers name. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we're also used to it. We're like, ooh, Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom.
Yeah. I mean, it's one step away from Doctor Evil. Let's be honest.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
All right, Dan, what are you playing and watching?
So I mean, still basically the same because and the reason why I didn't start Suikoden is because I'm trying to finish Visions of Mana. I think I'm getting pretty close. I think I maybe have 6-7 hours left, and then I should be finished.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, game is still gorgeous. The music is really fun and whimsical sometimes, and good. I will say that as I'm playing it more, it does feel like the story kind of like is like a little bit like molasses at certain moments, and like there are definitely some, and I'm not, I mean, because Derek was always the one like skip dialogue, skip dialogue. But there are moments where I'm kind of like, all right, we're going like a little long-winded here with this this cutscene here. Like, can we move it along?
Yeah. I get that.
But like, yeah, I think it's just more of a delivery issue. Like the characters almost kind of like sometimes like the scenes are just slow, and they could have just like maybe kind of shaved off.
Some writing is a little too on the nose. They're describing. They don't need to describe everything.
Well, and sometimes like there's the way of like rehashing where it's like I'm gonna re-expose the exposition again. And I'm like I've been playing this whole time.
Like JRPGs were usually or tactics games most guilty of that. It's like like Fire Emblem did that a lot. It's like yes, I know.
Yakuza does that all the time too, where like Majima would be like, "Let me tell you something about the Yakuza." I'm like, "Dude, I've been playing this game for 11 games." Like, I don't...
It's like, I mean, I don't know. You might have something new to tell me.
We're a loyal bunch, and we like to use knives. And I'm like, I know, dude. Yeah.
I'm aware. I'm aware of this. But yeah, I am still enjoying it, and yeah, I mean, everything that I've said prior is pretty much still held up. Combat is like not overly complicated, but it feels good. It's snappy, like it's smooth. So, but yeah, just not like a crazy ton of depth there. But yeah, it's good. And then my PlayStation Plus expired.
Oh no!
Which I have Doom Eternal downloaded because of Plus. So for like a little over a week there, I didn't play any Doom Eternal because I was trying to wait for, because I was looking online for like maybe a discount or whatever, you know, because I didn't want to spend the whole thing for the whole year. And I saw a couple people be like, oh, I let it like lapse for like a week, and it was like, oh, here's a discount. So I was like, all right, like maybe if I wait a week, and nothing, absolutely nothing. Sony said, fuck you, Dan, you get nothing. So I did end up just whatever. I bit the bullet and I re-upped. Yeah. So yeah, now I can get back into Doom Eternal. So I'll get into that. I finished that anime that I mentioned last week.
Were you still feeling icky about it, or?
It's again, everything about it is truly, everything about it is actually very excellent, except the icky sexual themes, right? Because it's a grown man's like spirit and essence inside of it, like, and it's just that's just the kind of the hard sell. But everything else about it is so good, and that's what's frustrating.
I feel like that anime, and it's so classic anime, though. You know, like I feel like
uncomfortable
there's a lot of
themes like that,
uncomfortable stuff, overly horny sometimes. Taboo, you know, yada yada. But you're also like, boy, that was really artistic.
So right now, Dan talking about that show. You're the GameStop employee trying to get me to get the warranty, and I'm like, nah, I'm good, and I'm walking. Like I'm passing, hard pass.
I'm not even gonna try to sell it. Because that's the thing. I was like, even like kind of like, should I even bring this?
It's the same thing. You feel bad about trying to push this warranty on people. You're like, I'm sorry about this.
Sure.
This is icky. Hey, this is icky, but here we go.
At least I'm telling you. and then yeah, just Renee and I have just been like watching like more random YouTube stuff. Like for example, are you guys familiar with like the Vanderbilts? Do you even know? Because I don't even think
Like
I
one of
had
the
probably
one
heard
of
the
the
name the
couple
Vanderbilts.
like families that like own everything or whatever.
Yeah, so they like back in like the late 1800s were pretty prominent. And we watched this video touring the most expensive Gilded Age mansion in America. So
Oh, wow.
property, mansion, and then like everything that's inside of the mansion, like estimated $500 million.
Mm.
Like
That's
this
stupid.
just it's insane,
Yeah.
absolutely insane. And so were watching the video, and this is late 1800s, so there's just a lot of architecture and like designs inside that are very like European. They actually had stuff shipped on like on boats,
Hmm.
sailing across the ocean, like bringing stuff from actual Europe to like
That's cool though.
you know put in this home. And also this was just their summer home, by the way, in Newport, Rhode Island. This is a massive mansion back in the late 1800s that they used as a summer home. Like that's how rich this family was.
You said
Um,
Newport. All I
but
heard was Bobby Newport from.
Bobby Newport. God, I love that whole
I
bit.
know. I know.
But yeah, just we've been just watching random things. Just
Yeah.
all suddenly we're very interested in maybe someday vacationing in Switzerland.
Hmm.
Because I don't know if you
Beautiful.
guys have ever seen anything in Switzerland. It's fucking gorgeous, dude. It's beautiful. Switzerland is insane.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks like
There's
it's made up. Yeah, it looks like it's a
yeah,
made up place. So
for real.
picturesque.
There's a couple. There's one Grindelwald. I'm trying to say it like a Swedish Grindelwald.
Hmm.
That's like this town that's nestled in between mountains. So
Hmm.
like you walk outside and like you look left, you look
You're
right.
in the
There's just these
valley. Yeah.
massive, beautiful mountains and like greenery and flowers everywhere.
Also, you're
And it's
never
just like
involved in
it's
any wars
absolutely
because
insane.
you're so neutral. You know what I mean? There's.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah, you're just
Alright,
like
yeah.
nestled in there.
What's that like?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah,
So
no,
that place
that's a
just
place
like
I've always wanted to visit. It looks gorgeous from
Yeah.
what I've
yeah,
seen. That places like that in
yeah,
Iceland and like some of those places just look
yeah,
so intriguing. Yeah, I want to go there too.
yeah. It looks crazy beautiful. Yeah, we just been just kind of watching random stuff like that. I was trying to find that the so the guy that you mentioned, it wasn't the one that we were looking up, but oh actually also I don't know if this is a bit, and that's just how deep this goes, where it's like they're really just like not really kind of just be like, hey, psych. But have you guys heard of this whole thing that Bill Burr might be related to Billy Corgan
Yeah,
from the
been
Smashing
following that.
I thought it was
Pumpkins?
just a joke because they look alike.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't know if it is. I
Yeah.
don't
Bill Burr
know.
is legitimately mad about it, whether or not it's true or
Yeah.
not. So yeah.
But that's the thing. Is he though, or is because he's kind of been acting more
I thought
these
it was
past few
just
years that he's
silly.
like hamming it
Yeah,
up?
I
Like
mean,
that's what I
maybe
don't
he's
know.
hamming it up. Yeah, I don't know. He's
Yeah.
really committing to the bit if he is. Yeah.
But
That's
Howie
funny.
Mandel has a podcast, and apparently Corgan like went on there one time and like just kind of, I guess I didn't watch it, so I don't know how it was brought up, but he kind of like mentioned like, yeah, like it might be related to like Bill Burr or whatever. And then Bill Burr on a separate episode went to the Howie Mandel podcast, and Howie was like, I got a surprise for you, like later in the show. And then freaking Billy Corgan walks in, and then like they're sitting next to each other, and you're like looking at these two guys, and like if this is a bit, it's insane how they absolutely look like they're related.
Yeah.
Like if it is a bit, it's insane because they absolutely do. And like Bill just is like pissed. He is acting so pissed, or he is pissed. I don't know if he's acting.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they're kind of like having a conversation, and like they're actually talking about like Bill Burr's dad and like
Huh.
how I had other families or something. But it's like I don't know if it's a bit. I don't know.
I gotta look this up now. This sounds
Yeah,
intriguing.
it's wild,
Yeah.
dude. It's crazy. So yeah, but yeah, Bill Burr on another thing that I was watching, the guy kind of asked is like, so like what's the deal here? And then it was and he's like, so are you like upset? And he's like, yeah, no, like fuck Howie Mandel. Like I'm pissed at him.
Yeah,
Like
he felt like
so it's like I
ambushed or
don't
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, because he felt yeah, he ambushed him. So because again, if it's not a bit, he ambushed him. So
But like,
yeah,
Bill,
it's
Bill
wild, dude.
Burr will also get really, really, really like charged up about Bill Maher. But like when you ask him about like, how do you like hate Bill Maher? He's like, no, we're just having conversations. I think he has dumb opinions sometimes, but like that's why we fight, you know. So it's like I can never
Right.
tell with Bill Burr. I can never tell
Yeah,
like
yes,
where
yeah.
he like stands on something or it's
That is kind of his whole thing, right? Is he's angry. That's his secret. He's angry all the time.
It's angry about
He's
everything
angry
to the point where
all
you don't know if he's really angry about something.
Which
I mean,
is
again,
like
he used to
toned
say
down.
that he hated Star Wars so much, like, and if you
Sure.
like Star Wars, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And like, I would
Right.
never. And then and now he says that role he did for Mandalorian is the favorite thing he's ever done acting.
I gotta tell you,
it's like,
Sure.
his in the second season especially, like
Yeah.
I was impressed
Yeah.
by him in that role.
he's
Yeah.
such an incredible actor. And I'm
Where
telling you,
he
like,
shifts tones,
He
like
did
where
a
he's
good job.
he should like there are two pillar moments in that episode, like where he shoots like the officer and then also like is playing the part of like being a little more like, I don't know, revealing about like his past like that. He does it so well.
Yeah, he crushed it.
Yeah.
Between stuff like that and then Old Dads was not a great movie, but I thought the King of Staten Island or whatever that one was called with
Yeah, I liked that one.
but Bill's role in that, he was really good in it. You know, even though the movie itself I thought was pretty
dating
good.
his mom, right? Dating
Yeah.
Pete Davidson's mom.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That movie, yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job on that one. But anyway.
Yeah, I like that one.
Nice.
New special coming out sometime this year, so
Yeah.
It's this month. It's in the next couple of weeks
Nice.
on Hulu. I don't know what the shift to Hulu because he usually does Netflix.
a lot of people did Hulu this year, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people. I don't know what the shift is either. Maybe they just were paying more
Money,
or something. I don't know.
maybe. Netflix has so many, they might also have like, hey, we've used up a lot of our
probably
special
Yeah.
budget.
Sure.
Absolutely.
There's so many. But anyway. All right, I think that does it for us this week. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll catch up with you next week. I actually have not even looked to see what's coming out. I'm too busy playing current games, but
I don't think anything's coming out till the 20th, or at least anything big.
Assassin's Creed Shadows, I think, is the next heavy hitter.
Yeah.
So maybe next week we do what we're not supposed to do and look back at 2024. We'll see.
Nice.
We'll see. Yeah, I know.
The forbidden
I
thing.
know.
The forbidden fruit.
So thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.